Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game, and The Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and The Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios, brought to you by Superbook. We're live at Pete and Terry's today. The Predators in action tonight. D-Mase, how we doing?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. It was a great weekend of football, so I'm doing great.
It was a great weekend of football. It was a wild card weekend.
That's an understatement.
I want to get into all of our thoughts on the games this weekend, what we think upcoming tonight. Brady and the Cowboys, which I know the NFL is just salivating over this game, and they're so excited that it's Brady and the Cowboys. But I want to start here because it came out over the weekend that the Titans have requested to interview Kansas City offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and Kansas City quarterbacks coach and former Bears head coach, former Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. So that, to me, I think is a really, really big statement from the Titans. Because my interpretation of the Titans requesting to interview Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy is that they, one, are looking around elsewhere, which we kind of knew that they were going to do that. We knew that that's kind of what you have to do. But also it indicates to me the Titans are open to a system change. Matt Nagy and Eric Bieniemy both don't run the West Coast Shanahan system that the Titans currently run. They both run the Andy Reid, Philadelphia, Kansas City offense. Obviously, it's the Kansas City offensive coordinator. They're Kansas City guys. So that, to me, signifies something massive that could potentially go on in this organization is, one, that they are open to a system change, and two, what that means in terms of personnel moving forward.
Or they could just be appeasing the Rooney Rule. That could be the case as well.
That's another thing as well.
But, if you're going to go outside of the organization and look at these two candidates, because, on the outside, they're vastly different from what you were used to the last, 4 or 5 years you've been here as head coach. This offense is ran a lot different than what Kansas City runs their offense. Now, can it be, tailored to, be more of a run-based offense, a balance? Yes, it can. I think all offenses can. But if you're looking at someone like Nagy or Bieniemy, you're looking at, guys that have been a part of systems that have been high-scoring, that have been, consistent in regards to, where they rank at amongst offensive units. And this is the most important thing that the Titans, I think they got to figure out too, is with that system, they had their quarterback. They had their franchise quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. So if you're going to, go outside and hire Eric Bieniemy or Matt Nagy, you got to be willing to. You have to have that quarterback that can run that system too. I think they do in a sense because this is the same system that was ran when Andy Reid first got there, and Patrick Mahomes was not the quarterback.
Right.
And their quarterback at the time reminds me so much of Ryan Tannehill, the things that he was able to do.
Alex Smith,
prior to his injury. The things he was able to do, he was mobile. He didn't always look to run, but he was mobile. He can get outside the pocket.
Yeah.
He had a nice arm. Was he elite? No, but he was a really good quarterback. So that tells me if you do go out and bring in one of these guys, then Ryan Tannehill does fit the system. But I think eventually they have to get their quarterback. This weekend should remind them that they need to get their quarterback for the future.
And you bring up a point about the Rooney Rule, and I do think that that could be into play here. And the Rooney Rule, unfortunately, while its intentions are good and it was adopted to do good in the league, it's inherently flawed.
Yes.
But I do think that it's interesting because I would agree with you if it was Eric Bieniemy solely. But the fact that it's both Nagy and Bieniemy, two guys that come from the same system, and it's one of the two satisfies the Rooney Rule, Eric Bieniemy being a minority. So the fact that it's both of them shows me that it's not just about the Rooney Rule, that there's something interesting within that system. That whoever the powers might be within the Titans organization says, that's a system that we could be potentially interested in adopting. But within that system, you make a very fair point. It's about the quarterback. And yes, it's really easy to have one of the top offenses in the league when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, but they did it with Alex Smith. And Alex Smith isn't a bad quarterback, but he ain't Patrick Mahomes. But he darn sure did look very close to what Patrick Mahomes is doing now, what he did in 2017. So it's about the quarterback, and it's so, it's so dependent on the quarterback, but also beyond the quarterback, it's not really a system that requires a Derrick Henry. You look at the Chiefs offense, they don't not run the ball. You can still utilize the running back. You can still utilize Derrick Henry in that kind of system. But how big of a role can he really play? That's a very pass to the quarterback heavy system. That's you need like an Alvin Kamara wide receiver running back kind of duo kind of running back, not necessarily just hand it off to the running back on every first down. So I think that's kind of the interesting part here is the personnel that the Titans currently have, a not very deep wide receiver core. And it's a very run-heavy offense, and you have Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in the league. What they currently have on this team doesn't necessarily fit the system. So what's the next plan? If this is a system, which it seems like two of the candidates that they have requested to interview for the offensive coordinator come from this system, are they, one, looking to abandon the system that they currently run, shifting into the Andy Reid kind of style of offense? And are they looking to move forward without Derrick Henry? Because you can have Derrick Henry in this system, but I don't really know how effective he can truly be. And I don't really know how valuable he can truly be to your offense.
Well, I mean, at this juncture of his career, I think he's more than adequate for any system. It's
but in the passing game,
yeah,
he's done more in the passing game this year.
And that's the sort of the caveat to it all. Yes, you can bring the system in. Yes, Derrick Henry can run in this system. I mean, in this system, you would love to have a back like Derrick Henry in a sense on first and second down, but it's the third down. It's the how they utilize their running backs in the passing game. It's not just flares or screen routes. They run angle routes. They run out routes. They run seam routes. They put their running backs are essentially like an extension of their receivers in a sense. So can you adapt Derrick Henry to that system wholeheartedly? Probably not, but I think first and second down, I think he works well within this system. And I think a lot of times you got to, you have to change or tweak it just a little bit based upon your personnel. And that's going to be the big thing too, is we go out and get a coordinator. We got to get a GM, right after that or either before that, because if this is the system we're going to run, we got to all be in agreement of the players we need to go out and get. Derrick Henry can flourish in this system, but we need to have someone else. Is it Hassan Haskins? I think it is. He's played very well. But
he's not going to be Derrick Henry.
Does he show the ability to catch the ball out the backfield the way that Philadelphia running backs did or Kansas City running backs did? Or do we just keep the guys that are here? Dontre, he would be a perfect back in that system. So do you go out and try to get the personnel to match the system, or do you take the personnel that you have from a running back standpoint and say, okay, we can work with Derrick Henry on first and second down. There are some third downs we can give him, but we have Dontrell Hilliard as well as Hassan Haskins.
And you also have to look at it like how committed are the Titans to Derrick Henry? Because they could look at it like, look, we got a couple of backs in Hassan Haskins and Dontrell Hilliard. Well, they're not your Derrick Henry. No, they're not going to be legitimate starters in the NFL, but they are guys. You could say we could trade Derrick Henry for picks. You're not going to get a first-round pick for Derrick Henry, but you can trade Derrick Henry for picks. And I'm not worried about the money necessarily. That doesn't, deter me from keep holding on to Derrick Henry or not. But we said last week, if the Titans do decide to move on from Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, but focus on Derrick Henry for now, that means that there is a seismic change happening because this offense, as currently constructed with Ryan Tannehill running this system, I don't know how effective it can truly be without Derrick Henry. But if you transition the system and find backs that are more suited for a pass-heavier offense, then that's where I see the path to trading Derrick Henry and the path to moving on from Derrick Henry being while still having a successful offense.
Yeah, you can, because you have guys already in this offense that could fit in a Andy Reid type system. Chigakonko could fit in this system. Dontrell Hilliard, like I said, Hassan Haskins possibly. Traylon Burks, obviously.
You're going to need more receivers.
You're going to need more pass catchers in this system. And I'm not saying you need, Jefferson or Tyreek Hill.
Wouldn't
but
hurt.
You need people. You need guys with speed. You need guys that can stretch the field. This weekend, you watch these teams play, and the one thing that stuck out with me, Miami, Jacksonville, who played the other night, Cincinnati, even Baltimore to an extent, they all have speed on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, the Titans lack speed.
The Titans lack speed on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
It's not just the offense lacking speed, but the defense lacks speed as well. So if you're going to get this system, which I think is a great system, it's a quarterback-friendly system. Absolutely. Then go back to San Francisco. They got a bunch of speed going all around the building. So if you do bring the system in, you're going to have to be patient, because you're going to have to build up the roster to match the system. You may have some success early, but I think the true success will come as you start building your system based upon you start building your roster based upon the system you have.
And that's what you are going to have to do, because
Exactly.
the system is only a framework. Once you have the right personnel, once you have the right players to execute it, that's when the system becomes successful. You can have a system all day long, but if you don't have the players to execute it, it's going to be incredibly unsuccessful.
The system is what is it?
We saw that with Matt Nagy in Chicago.
Exactly. The players, the system is the byproduct of the players. If you have the players, you can run the system. If you don't have the players, like you said, it doesn't matter what the system is. If you don't have the players to run it or the players that can make plays within your system, it's just like any other system, But in the case of Kansas City, in the case of San Francisco, Buffalo, they have players to fit their system.
Right.
If they didn't have the players to fit their system, we saw Josh Allen before Diggs and after Diggs. They started adding guys around him, same system. You add the guys in the system flourishes. I'm not saying that the system is the end-all, be-all, but you got to have the guys that can go into a system and flourish in it.
615-737-1025 is our phone number if you have a thought. Again, the Titans have requested to interview Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and Chiefs quarterbacks coach, former Chiefs offensive coordinator, former Bears head coach Matt Nagy. So what about these two offensive coordinators would be interesting to the Titans? Why have the Titans requested to interview these two coordinators? We'll get into that coming up next. And, of course, your thoughts. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, we're live from the Game Studio, sponsored by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. It's 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:45. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice Is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice Is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:45 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome to Smashville, home of the biggest hits in hockey and the loudest parties on Broadway. Join us at Bridgestone Arena Monday, January 16th for Firefighter Appreciation Night as your Nashville Predators extinguish the Calgary Flames. And the Preds are right back in action on Tuesday, January 17th for a rescheduled game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Purchase your tickets today at NashvillePredators.com/tickets. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena. Let's go, Preds.
To all our men listeners out there, I need to tell you about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne, along with that experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. Men, what are you waiting for? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment like I did. And here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458. Or visit their website at coolspringsmd.com.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce in custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Attention furniture buyers. Shop Social Furniture's huge blowout sale now. Thousands of items are marked down in all departments. Many prices are slashed up to 70% off. Now is the time to buy your new furniture at Social Furniture's huge blowout sale. Our professional staff will assist you with your purchase. We have same-day delivery and setup by experienced furniture installers. Don't wait. Buy today with up to 60-month special financing and no money down. Shop Social Furniture's huge blowout sale. Now through Monday on Charlotte Avenue in Nashville. Save, 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 save.
And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one, in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
TriStar Moving and 102.5 The Game celebrates the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
No doubt what kind of an offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy has been. I mean, the Chiefs are among the best in the NFL every year, regardless of whether or not they trade Tyreek Hill or not. It is difficult one to understand, Steve. He has interviewed so many times, so many different places, has not gotten any jobs, and you do start to wonder, what's going on? Are the interviews not what people want? Is it just that he was at some point new and exciting and shiny, and now because he's interviewed so many different places is not? I mean, it's tough to understand.
Bieniemy, again, the Titans have requested to interview Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, Chiefs quarterbacks coach Matt Nagy, of course, former Chicago Bears head coach before he got fired after the 2021 season. But I want to get into kind of my thoughts about those two, because I've heard a lot of people say, well, why would Eric Bieniemy even want to come to the Titans to be their offensive coordinator? Wouldn't that be a lateral move? And on paper, yeah, it would be. But I think the interest for Eric Bieniemy lies in the fact that he can call plays. He doesn't call plays in Kansas City. So he could come to Tennessee. While it is technically, on paper, you're job title is the same. Your job title would be a lateral move. It's more responsibility. You're actually calling plays in Tennessee. And I know there was a tweet out from Josina Anderson earlier who said the Titans have requested both Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and senior assistant quarterback coach Matt Nagy. We know that. Interest was established over a week ago, which is interesting because the Titans lost to the Jags over a week ago. Says, I'm told Bieniemy is focused on head coaching opportunities and Nagy has yet to confirm Tennessee's request. So it doesn't surprise me that Eric Bieniemy is probably looking ahead to head coaching opportunities because he's gotten so many head coaching interviews. And that's a little bit of a red flag for me. It's a little bit why I'm turned off of Eric Bieniemy is, one, he doesn't call plays in Kansas City. We saw how that worked out with Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. He didn't call plays in Green Bay. Matt LaFleur calls plays in Green Bay. And Nathaniel Hackett didn't even last an entire season in Denver. So if you don't call plays in Kansas City, how can you come here and call plays? How successful can you be at that? One. Two, Eric Bieniemy has gotten so many interviews. He interviewed for 5 open head coaching positions in 2021. The only head coaching position open that he did not interview for, there were 6 open positions in 2021. The Texans were the only position that he did not interview for. He interviewed for the Falcons, Lions, Chargers, Jets, Jags, of course, obviously, didn't get any of those jobs. In 2022, interview with the Saints. He just got an interview with the Colts, a head coaching interview. So he's collecting all of these interviews. He's gaining traction both at the NFL head coaching position and also in college. His name gets thrown around for college offensive coordinator positions, college head coaching positions. So he's in conversation for all of these roles, but doesn't get any of them. That's a bit of a red flag to me.
Yeah, it is. But I want to see of those teams that interviewed him, how many of those teams hired minority coaches.
See, and that's the interesting thing is the Texans didn't interview him because they hired Lovie Smith.
Exactly. Lovie was already in the house, yeah. And then now they're looking to fire him a year later.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the deal is with Eric Bieniemy and him not getting a head coaching job. That is a mystery to me. Maybe the interviews didn't go well. I don't know. Maybe they were just satisfying the Rooney Rule. Again, I want to see of those teams, how many of those teams did hire a minority coach or a black coach. Because if none of them hired him, then it was just appeasing the Rooney Rule. So I can't go by, well, he's been interviewed by several teams.
But I don't know if
exactly.
It was just
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
He could be a terrible interviewer.
He could be a terrible interviewer. So I'm a hold my judgment on that for later. But he's going to have to get out of Kansas City somehow, some way, even if it's a quote-unquote lateral move. Because you just said it. Everybody believes Andy Reid calls plays anyway.
Right.
So no matter who is offensive coordinator there, whether it's Matt Nagy or it's Eric Bieniemy, everybody's going to look at the head coach, Andy Reid, and say he's the one that's really calling the plays.
Right.
We don't know if you can call plays. Well, Nagy proved that he could call plays. He was coach of the year. This offense flourished, but he subsequently got fired a few years later because the team was bad. But he's going to have to get out of Kansas City, both of them. And if you're interviewing an Eric Bieniemy or a Matt Nagy, as we talked about before, you got to be willing to change everything about your offense that has been, that we have seen the last 4 or 5 years. You have to be willing to change it because either coach is going to come in and want to implement their system. That's just, they're not going to want any part of a sort of, archaic, in a sense, system. They want to be able to run the systems that they feel will score points and put pressure on defense. The Titans system, it doesn't do that. It only does it when they're running a football.
Not necessarily the system, but the Titans offense.
It's the offense.
Because
the offense
it works
doesn't.
in San Francisco.
Exactly.
It works in Green Bay.
The offense, the way it's being called and everything, it doesn't put enough pressure on the defense.
The way it's executed.
Exactly. If they're running the football, absolutely. But if they can't get the run going, then they're nothing.
Right.
So if you're bringing in these two guys or one or the other, you have to be willing to, forsake everything that you've done for the last 4 or 5 years and be willing to move forward with a more innovative a way of playing offense. It may be 4 wides. It may be 2 backs in the backfield. It may be, double tights. Both of them are pass-catching tight ends. you have to be able to or willing to, do that or change your system, so to speak. And I mean, I don't know if Vrabel's willing to do that or not. It's yet to be seen. If he hires someone outside of this building, then yes, he's willing to do it. But I think if he hires within Tim Kelly, then he's okay with having a system that has been in place for the last 4 years.
Right, and I think and I know per Josina Anderson's tweet, neither Bieniemy nor Nagy have accepted the request. But
Exactly.
I think it's less about the interview itself and more of the action of the Titans requesting the interviews. That's the big statement to me, is they're at least looking elsewhere.
Yeah, and I would love to know how these interviews go. What is being said, what is being asked. Because some people are just not good interviewers, just like some kids are not good test takers.
Right.
They don't do well on standardized tests, but you look at their grades and everything, and they're 4-point students, and they do well and they thrive. But you put a standardized test in front of them,
and they panic.
Exactly, for whatever reason, they just don't do well. But that's not indicative of what they, who they are as a person. And I would love to know what goes on in these meetings because, again, I don't need you to have the greatest interview. I need you to be able to run my offense. I don't need you to be, I don't need everybody to like you. I need you to run my offense and be very successful at it. And the two guys that they're looking outside has been successful in offenses. So to me, damn the interview. Can they get the job done? I don't want them to be, when they come in. I don't want them to be that. But if they don't say something that I don't like or they say something that I dislike or something I don't agree with me, okay, fine, we'll put that aside. Can you run an offense? Okay, yeah, you can. Can your offense, do you know how to call plays at critical times? Yes, you've shown it. All right, you my coordinator. Let's go. I don't need to necessarily, the one-on-one don't need to be, the best thing in the world to me.
I hear ya. I totally hear you because I don't really care what how you can sweet talk me in a room. How can you call a play when it's 3rd and 9 and you are, on the 20 and you need to score a minute left of the game? Like in those kind of circumstances, how can you execute an offense? But I do know that Amy Adams-Strunk takes the impression of an interview very, very seriously. That I don't see her, based off of what she said and what she prioritizes, I don't see her hiring her offensive coordinator or any position for that matter, general manager, whatever.
I hope she's not a part of this offensive coordinator search. I really don't.
It's for the GM search, more
so. GM search, I hope she has nothing to do with our offensive coordinator.
But, with Eric Bieniemy looking at his past and looking at his role right now with Kansas City, I don't really know. I'm saying it right now, I wouldn't be interested in the Eric Bieniemy business. But what about Matt Nagy? That's another interview that the Titans have requested. What about Matt Nagy? Plus, your thoughts, your calls, your text, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. We are streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. It's 1025-1063 The Game.
Hey guys, the new year is here! And for many of us, that means making resolutions to get healthier and in better shape. But if you don't have that youthful energy, if you aren't sleeping well, if you feel like you're walking around in a fog all day, just resolving to get out of bed can be tough, let alone getting back in the gym. But you should know that there are many men feeling this way in these modern times, because low testosterone is affecting more men than ever. And low T can cause all kinds of issues like a reduced sex drive, poor sleep patterns, general fatigue, ineffective workouts. It can even contribute to ED. But the good news is that the medical team at the Tennessee Men's Clinic are experts in treating low T. Many men have experienced life-changing results. Testosterone therapy can help increase energy, workouts, make you feel more rested, and enjoy a greater sex drive too. So make a resolution to find that guy you used to be. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes a medical consult and testosterone panel. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment, sex drive results vary.
Built upon a solid foundation of cast iron and steel, the Kubota LO1 series is part of our under 100 horsepower tractor lineup rated #1 for reliability. They feature powerful Kubota diesel engines and easy operation. The durable Kubota LO1 series. Talk to your local Kubota dealer today to schedule a demo. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
For the love of the climb, For the love of the fall. For the love of knowing your kids' laughter is the sweetest music there is. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Petty Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Well, I think it's interesting because, everything Vrabel has done in the past has been so internal. And now he's got to interview people from outside. But the fact that he's asking two guys from the same team, I think is interesting. And it's a good team to ask. They score a ton of points. And they scored points, before Mahomes got there because it's the Andy Reid, system. And so I think that's interesting that they might be willing to say, hey, we might need to start looking at doing things a little bit different way.
There you go. That was Corey Curtis on Robbie and Rex Road this morning. Hey, the Titans at least are looking at offensive coordinators or potential offensive coordinators that don't run the system that the Titans currently run. They're looking outside at other systems. Of course, they've requested interviews with Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and former Bears head coach, Chiefs quarterbacks coach Matt Nagy. Willy Donick joins the show. Willy D, how we doing?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good
to
to
see
see
you
ya.
guys. I haven't seen you guys face to face in a little while.
I know, it's been a minute in the flesh.
Yeah, let you back in, man. Let you back in.
I appreciate that,
Don't worry about
it. It was not easy to get back in. Let me
I
tell
know.
you, we had to de-ice a couple times in Montreal. We had
that was
people-
my doing.
Plus, you had to get past Derek's guys at the border.
That's right. And we got home, and they were double checking stuff. And it was, jeez.
Well, the Titans have started requesting interviews for their offensive coordinator search. Eric Bieniemy, I think I might be out on. He doesn't call plays in Kansas City. He's gotten at least 7 head coaching interviews since 2021. Hasn't gotten any of them. I'm out on Eric Bieniemy. But Matt Nagy, I do think, is a little bit of an interesting one because I know that there are probably Bears fans out there or anyone familiar with Chicago Bears football over the last 5 years, and they are probably moaning in disdain for Matt Nagy because he is not very well liked in Chicago, and rightfully so. That team under Matt Nagy for a majority of his tenure in Chicago was pretty darn bad. But I don't think that Matt Nagy is a bad offensive coach. I think there are some coordinators that just can't be head coaches. I think there are head coaches that just can't be coordinators. Mike Vrabel wasn't a very good defensive coordinator in Houston, but he's a great head coach. I think he's one of the best head coaches in the league. So I'm not counting out the fact that Matt Nagy might just have been a bad head coach, but a pretty good offensive coordinator. Because he did call plays for the Chiefs in 2017. And the Chiefs have one of the best offenses in the league. In terms of average yards per game, they were 5th in the league, averaging almost 400 yards a game. They were averaging almost 26 points a game. It was 6th best in the NFL in 2017. And that wasn't with Patrick Mahomes. Because I think that can be a knock on some offensive coordinators as, oh yeah, your job is probably really easy when you've got a Tom Brady or a Joe Burrow or a Patrick Mahomes at the helm. But Alex Smith was the starting quarterback in 2017. And Alex Smith was a Pro Bowler that year. He had the best season of his career in 2017. Threw for over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. There were 4 offensive Pro Bowlers on that team that year. Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and then, of course, Alex Smith. That was a really good offense in 2017. And that's when Matt Nagy did call plays. And he and Andy Reid did split play calling duties, to be fair. And that wild card round game against the Titans, it wasn't a very well called game offensively. He has his flaws. But I think overall, that's a really bright spot on Matt Nagy's resume.
It's really interesting. I think Corey hit on a really key point is philosophically, if you're Mike Vrabel, what would you like to do? Would you like to change things up a little bit? Are we starting to get away from the identity, the power running game that has been really the staple for the last, ever since he's been here and even going back before he was here? Like Mike Mularkey's teams, they were running the ball heavy. When they had DeMarco Murray and a young Derrick Henry, they were still running it. DeMarco Murray had one really good year. In between the two of them, they probably were running the ball in the top 10. So what do you want to do with the offense? I think you have to decide that. What is your personnel? Because I think we have to get beyond – like Nagy is a really interesting one, right? You mentioned his history in Kansas City when he had a certain group of guys. And then he gets to Chicago. He didn't have nearly the weapons, and he looked like a buffoon, right? He was getting lambasted on telecast. Like, you're running these plays, they have no chance of working. Like, the pass protection can't hold up.
Yeah.
All of these things. So you can't force feed your own philosophy. You have to be able to evolve and fit the personnel that you have. Those are the best offensive coordinators to me. And so I'm not an ace enough to really know who would be a right fit. I can tell you this. I'd never heard of Arthur Smith. I knew he had been around the Titans forever. We had no idea if he could actually call plays or be a smart offensive play caller. Turned out to be a great hire. He was a total no-name. So I don't know if it's the name, but I think you have to start with, what do you want your offense to look like? Is it time to change and get out of your comfort zone a little bit? And as you like to call it, D-Mase, modernize the offense a little bit. And that would include probably de-emphasizing Derrick Henry's role a little bit, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that's what you have to decide before who's the guy calling the plays, I think.
Exactly. You got to be willing to not necessarily part ways with Derrick Henry. And if they did, it's not like I would be surprised if they did it. Now, they're going to have to get back enough capital, I believe, to want to, trade. Even in his 8th year, he still should command at least a third round pick.
I think that's fair.
If indeed you do try to trade him. But whether it's Eric Bieniemy or Matt Nagy had 3 successful years or 3 good years. He had a really, really good year, 12-win year. Then he had 2 8-win seasons, and then they bottomed out the last year, and they were ready to get him out of there. But he's proven that, he's a good play caller. And, I think what people got to understand about Eric Bieniemy, he's been in Kansas City for 10 years with I believe he's been there 10 years. He's been offensive coordinator 5 of the 10 years. Andy Reid, he's running backs coach first. Andy Reid elevated him to the offensive coordinator. I can understand the first 2 or 3 years them saying and it being put out, well, Eric Bieniemy isn't really calling the plays because Andy is. I get it. I wouldn't let him have total, control or autonomy over the offense. I wouldn't. And it's just your first few seasons of running the offense. You can call some plays, but as a head coach, I have control over it. But I think now, he is calling plays. And unless somebody tells me within that building or it comes out that Eric Bieniemy isn't calling plays now, I can see 3 years ago. I get it. Calling plays now, until someone tells me that and until I find that out, I believe he is the one that is calling the plays. Now, Andy's always going to have his hand in it because it's his offense. But I believe he gives Eric Bieniemy, he gave him the title OC, so he allows him to call plays unless he wants something really called at that particular time. So, to me, bring Eric Bieniemy here or Matt Nagy. I think both of them are capable of calling plays. Hell, they're more capable of what we've seen the last 2 years. I know that.
It's interesting, Derek. I think when you're talking about that, I have a flashback when you were playing with Sherman Lewis. Remember, was that his name, Sherman Lewis with Green Bay?
Yeah.
Remember, that was the tag on him. Mike Holmgren's the guy. He's the mastermind of the offense. He was the Andy Reid. They were always going deep in the playoffs. Sherman would have to wait, and everybody was like, Sherman Lewis would be a great candidate for a head coaching job. We had to wait to interview, and then the knock would be, well, he's not really calling the plays. It's Holmgren. And I don't think Sherman Lewis ever got no. He never got it.
I think he had a interim stint.
Maybe got I'd have to go back and look.
But he didn't get a full head coaching.
Right,
yet.
and I feel like that's happened to Bieniemy a few times, right? He gets that used against him. The Chiefs are always going deep in the playoffs most years. And so he's the odd man out all the time. That's why it was intriguing to me, because this would be somewhat of a lateral move. It's not like they're hiring Bieniemy to be a head coach.
But he would have to get out of Kansas City.
I think that if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm looking at it going, I gotta go somewhere else. If I'm going to get to a head coach, it's just not happening here. I need a new perspective. Now the challenge would be, you don't have Patrick Mahomes. It's a totally different offense that they run in Kansas City than they run here. So that would be a big adjustment. and it will be probably for just about anybody from the outside to come into if the Titans want to keep the same offensive philosophy, or do they want something brand new?
And I think that them at least requesting these interviews shows me they are looking out to potentially change the system. They are not pigeonholing themselves in this Shanahan West Coast system. But Willie, you bring up a good point about Nagy, and I think that was a knock against him in Chicago. It was almost like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole with the system and the personnel. They just didn't have the quarterback. Mitch Trubisky just couldn't do what they asked of him. Andy Dalton just couldn't necessarily execute the system. You know, when you're going...
Was it Foles in there somewhere, too?
Foles was a backup one year. It was, an awkward little gaggle of random quarterbacks that he had there in Chicago. But, you know, when you go from having Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Alex Smith at the time, and then you go to Chicago where you don't have playmakers like that, it makes the system a lot more difficult to instill into a team.
Yeah.
So the Titans are going to have to change up personnel a lot.
Yes.
Quarterback, receivers, probably move on from Derrick Henry. Offensive line is key there. Don't forget that the Chiefs really struggled at the beginning of last season when the offensive line was trying to figure itself out.
That's a good point. And just think about how the Chiefs go about the running game. They run to keep you honest. They don't pay for running backs, really. They just find a little group of 2 or 3 that get spot for the right situation. They use them in situational spots, right? They got a guy that runs it a little better. They got a guy like McKinnon who catches it. They're almost interchangeable parts. If you look
last
back
true running back was what, Priest Holmes?
Yeah, I mean you got to go back probably pre-Andy Reid before you really look at that old traditional running back. So that would be probably the first question: is if you're going to go from somebody from the Chiefs family, okay, what are we doing with the running game? Mm-hmm. Because that affects your salary cap. That affects how you put your whole thing together.
Yeah, but if you are willing to go outside of what you have known for the last 4 or 5 years, whether it's Nagy, whether it's Bieniemy or someone else, you got to ask yourself, well, okay, am I bringing in guys that fit the personnel that I have now, or am I bringing in a guy that's going to fit what I imagine this roster to be moving forward? Like, okay, if I bring in not Andy Reid, but that'd be great.
Basically, you're bringing in Andy Reid.
Yeah, but if you bring in Nagy or Bieniemy, am I willing now, and how long would it take me to get a roster built that can run this type of offense? Because right now, this offense is too slow to run the type of offense that they want to run, that those guys run at those respective teams.
And there's just not enough depth at key positions.
Not enough playmakers in depth.
Total pass-catching-centric offense. And the Titans struggle mightily in the pass-catching department. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I see your phones lining up, and we are right to your phones coming up next. But before we do that, I got to let you know that Preds fans can hang out before the Preds games at the Superbook Lounge in Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville on Broadway with 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Place your bets at Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials, plus enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim. ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
How that team is built, I think there's a lot to like about them.
Every Tuesday at noon, Tim with Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Presented by Red Spirit and Wine in Bellevue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Professional quilt maker Dana Balliard once said, "There are no rules in quilting, and if you think that there are, then it's time you try breaking a few." Now, I like that type of creative entrepreneurial spirit, and that's why I do my adult beverage trading at Red Spirits and Wine. It's not just a great selection of distilled spirits, single-barrel Red Select whiskeys, great wines from around the world, and awesome craft beers, but it's more the way the folks at Red just go about their business. At Red, they keep it interesting and fun, and the Cracker Jack crew makes you feel welcome after a hard day on the trail. Never coming off like some of them snooty-nosed, big-talking whoop-de-doos. At Red, it's always square dealing with the best in service, selection, and prices. Plus, Red is locally owned by real folks, not some totally faceless corporation. There's no doubt in my mind, Red is my kind of place. Red Spirits and Wine, Highway 70 South and Old Hickory Boulevard. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and at redspirits.com.
Okay, let me give you the latest from Loan Pronto. If you think mortgage rates are still super high, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low right now. So call my friends at Loan Pronto to see how low rates are. It might be time to do that refinance you've been putting off. It's time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you have way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month. Or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. You can get that down right now. You can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all the credit cards, close in about 14 days, and cut your overall expenses by about $500 a month or even more. Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now and take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit card bills to zero. Start that home improvement project. Or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number. Get the info and get on the right track. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and in the past, hair loss was inevitable. But now, you have a choice for thicker, fuller hair. Trust the experts with 45 years of experience at Hair Club. They've helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair again. No matter your age, stage of hair loss, or budget, Hair Club can customize a solution for you. And for a limited time, you can get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-0000.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company. You've got real talent. With Jared Stillman. Weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
I mean, it makes sense to put the game in his hands. So I don't think that means you have to abandon Derrick Henry. But Henry's going to be 30. And so, you know, even if you do have a couple of years left with him, it probably wouldn't hurt you to become less dependent on him, and to get more out of the weapons that you got at other spots. I mean, because the Chiefs, you know, last I saw, they've done a good job of getting production out of the tight end position. You know, I know they've got a generational player there, but they emphasize getting him the ball, and it seems like whoever they roll out at their wide receiver, they find ways to make points.
There you go. That was News 2's Corey Curtis on Robbie and Rex Road this morning, and I think he makes a fair point. The Titans are eventually, inevitably going to have to move on from Derrick Henry. The Titans eventually are going to have to move away from a very run-first offensive mentality. Derrick Henry isn't getting any younger, and even though he played his butt off this year and is still at the top of the NFL, even considering he took a game off in Week 17, he's still playing very well, but he's not going to be around forever. So at what point are the Titans going to have to shift their offense and get ahead of the inevitable, downfall? And I don't like using that word downfall. It sounds pretty dramatic, but decline, rather. So the big news is the Titans have requested to interview Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy for the offensive coordinator position, and per Josina Anderson, Nagy has not responded to the request. Eric Bieniemy is looking at head coaching opportunities, but I think just the idea and the action of the Titans requesting those interviews is the big story here. But unless you have thoughts,
Let's go to the phones.
To the phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Maddie Texan says, this system will fail miserably if we can't retool the offensive line. As bad as it is, Henry makes up for it with yards after contact. I also think a new OC will want to draft his quarterback, and that might be the selling point for the Kansas City offensive coordinator.
There's a lot of truth to that text.
Yes.
You don't have an offense if you don't have an offensive line. Or let's say you don't have much of an offense unless you have an elite quarterback with no offensive line. Because we saw Joe Burrow,
true.
Bunk that theory somewhat. But he's right that in order first, you got to build up that offensive line. And then if you are bringing in a new offensive coordinator, they are going to want to know, what is the vision moving forward? Because Ryan Tannehill is not going to be here forever. Derrick Henry is not going to be here forever. What are you thinking moving forward? That's why my whole thing this offseason is get your quarterback. I'm not saying move on from Tannehill. I'm not saying that. But get your quarterback. This year's playoffs shows you that you need a franchise quarterback, and you need him right now. So with whoever they go out and get, like the texter said, either the offensive line has to be rebuilt, and you got to get your quarterback.
And the offensive line, what I think about, too, is the offensive line really wasn't that bad with run blocking. Where they really were bad was pass blocking. So if you are going to become a different offense, and that's going to involve throwing the ball more, you better get some guys who can protect the quarterback. And like you said, there are exceptions, right? Joe Burrow has done some pretty good wondrous things without a great offensive line, although they did overhaul it from last year to this year. It's much better. Now
they struggled last night, too.
Right, and one of the guys got hurt during the game, a guy who'd been there almost
the guard,
every game.
I believe, yeah.
So that probably didn't help. But it is a question of how much are we retooling, how much are we trying to keep the foundation together. I think that it all comes back to that. And Mike Vrabel is going to make those decisions, but also I think a GM has got to know that. Like when he's coming in, he's interviewing, what are the questions coming to him? What do they say? Hey, what would you think if we retool? What would you do? Right? What would you do if we want to keep it? Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and, quote, run it back. Where do you fall on that spectrum? What do you think we should do? Those are key questions in these interviews that are going on right now. It's not just, hey, you like Nashville?
Like going to play games?
Yeah, because, that's a given, right? Nashville's great. It's an attractive place to come.
Yeah.
There's a lot going for you with cost of living as compared to a lot of other markets. But to me, those are really important questions of what do you think of our roster? It's an outside perspective. What would you do?
And I think that's why, because D-Mase and I were talking about this last week of the order of operations. That's why I think you need to get your GM in the door before you hire your offensive coordinator. At least have an idea of where you want to go offensively so you can find the general manager that can seek out talent to fulfill whatever you want to do offensively.
And that's why I think Mike Vrabel, how much say does he have? Because like Tim Hasselbeck said, as a coach, it's got to be hard to sit there and say, for the good of the franchise, we should break it down. We should lose.
And I'm willing to risk my job for
Yes,
that.
because what does Tim say? Most of the time the coach doesn't make it through. The coach gets axed on the way. So it's hard to sit there and sign up for a rebuild if you're the coach. So it's got to be somebody on the outside saying, I know, Mike, you're a fighter. You don't want to. You're a winner. But I got to do what's best for the franchise here. That's why the checks and balances are going to come into play.
And that's why, the word collaboration that's being used so much by Amy Adams-Strunk and Mike Vrabel. If this is truly a collaboration, and Mike Vrabel reports to Amy Adams-Strunk, just like the GM reports to Amy Adams-Strunk, that it's a really even kind of push and pull of power, Mike Vrabel's not going to sign up for a rebuild. And he's not, if it's truly a collaboration, he's not collaborating on a rebuild. I can't imagine that he would want to.
Yeah, it just depends on where he believes this roster is and how much he believes it's going to take for this roster to be back in true competitive form. And when I mean competitive form, I mean competing for championships, not just competing to barely make it to the playoffs. I'm talking about competing for championships. If he believes that this roster is still there, then okay. If he believes that, then I need to be, drinking what he's drinking. But this roster needs a lot. So Do you go into a complete sort of rebuild, or do you do this what I call a major renovation?
To that point, Jeff Texan says, other than being able to call the plays, can you give us any positives whatsoever about the Titans offense, other than the new draft choice, potential trades, or simply the money that might appeal to Bieniemy or other experienced offensive coordinators that would give them something to seriously consider coming to Nashville?
Ooh, that's a tough question, Caroline. It is.
And it's a fair point.
Yeah.
Because, other than coming from an experienced offensive coordinator who calls plays, their next step is probably to be a head coach somewhere, not to come to the Titans and completely overhaul the offense. But to Bieniemy, this texture says, other than being able to call the plays, I think that is the attractive part of coming to Tennessee for Eric Bieniemy, is that he would be able to call plays, so that these head coaching interviews that he's collecting every single year. He had 5 in 2021. Maybe some of those would start to come to fruition if he is the guy, he is the play caller of a potentially successful offense. Maybe that's what is missing on Bieniemy's resume if he truly does want to become a head coach one day.
Yeah, it has to be the challenge, because if you're looking at this roster, you're not looking at it as you would as, let's say, for instance, you're not looking at this roster like Andy Reid was looking at Kansas City when he chose to be their head coach / OC. He looked at Kansas City and said, hey, they got players that I can work with. They got a quarterback that is really good. Is he elite? No, but he's really good. But we're in a position. You got to remember, Kansas City, I believe, was in the 11th spot when Andy Reid got there, I believe. They were still a playoff team. And then they drafted their quarterback. I think they ended up moving back somewhere, but they were able to draft Patrick Mahomes in the top 15, I believe. The Titans are in the same situation. That's why, to me, it's just like, go get your quarterback. Find a way to go get your quarterback, because if you get your quarterback, you make that move from one team to another. You make it more realistic. You make it more of a, okay, I see why I came here now. They got their quarterback. Finally, we got our quarterback, so I don't have to worry about the future. And we're building around him in a sense. So if you're interviewing, one of your first questions should be, whether you're the GM or the OC, what are we doing at the quarterback position moving forward? If it comes back, we're going to try to get our quarterback in the first round this year, then I'm on board. I'm on board, because now if we get our quarterback, as a GM and OC, I get to groom him. I get to make him exactly what I want him to be. I get to tell, it's not somebody else's draft. It's not Malik Willis. Somebody else drafted him. We drafted this guy. Just like, Andy Reid did years ago with Patrick Mahomes. That was his guy. Alex Smith, as good as he was in that system, he wasn't Andy Reid's guy. So, subsequently they got him out of there, even though he played well. The new OC and GM, when they come in here, they got to be willing to push that envelope to get their guy at quarterback.
And that could be what they're doing. It could be. Looking out at offensive coordinators, looking for a guy to say, okay, you are going to be our guy, and you can handpick your quarterback of the future in this year's draft if that's what you want to do. That could be. I don't know what the Titans' plans are. I don't know what their intentions are. And I think at this point, anything's on the table. One texter texts in and says, we need an offensive coordinator who calls plays, not a guy who just happened to be in the building with a successful offensive coach. I think that's a fair critique of Bieniemy. But I also don't know the extent or how many plays he does call. Andy Reid calls offensive plays. That doesn't mean that Bieniemy is just sitting on the sidelines silent.
With the thing in it, with the big sheet in his hand.
Right. Like Jared always says, it's like a big old Waffle House menu. But I don't know what the extent is. Does he call a play a game? Is it Andy Reid completely, and Eric Bieniemy is just one of those guys who just, kind of fills the role, and he's the OC, but Andy Reid is the driver of the entire operation? I don't know exactly what his role is, but if it is to the point where Andy Reid is the captain of the offense and Bieniemy is just, simply his guy there that follows suit, then this texter's right. I wouldn't have any interest in getting into bed with that.
But listen, whether he was the primary play caller, I would just tend to believe after being there 10 years, 5 as an OC, that there had to be a point in there, at least the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years where that responsibility was slowly handed over to Eric Bieniemy.
But he's got to feel blocked, doesn't he?
I know that.
It's getting stale.
But I'm saying,
be frustrated.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure he is. That's why you would make a lateral move. But this thing of, he didn't call plays. I mean, after 5 years, if you've been there 10, if he's already elevated you to offensive coordinator, I understand slowly bringing him into the fold.
Yeah. And
but
after
a lot of
year
first-time
3, offensive coordinators, they got to.
Exactly.
They haven't called plays.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I want to be able to take control of it just in case. But after year 3.
Arthur Smith had never called plays.
But after year 3,
he called plays pretty well.
I should be able to say, here you go, Eric Bieniemy. These are your. And if he wasn't able to do that, I don't think he'd still be on that staff. If he didn't have the ability to call plays. Now, is he Andy Reid? No. But he's been there long enough that if he's worth any salt, he would have learned from Andy Reid those 5 years he's been there. When to call plays, when not to call plays, critical moments, stuff we saw McDaniel not do the other day.
Yeah.
At least we got to believe he's learned that from Andy Reid after 5 years.
You'd think.
You would hope.
You
Yes.
would hope,
You would
at
hope.
least. And I think that if you bring in a Chiefs guy and expect to get the Kansas City Chiefs offense or expect an Andy Reid, I think that you're going to be very disappointed.
No matter who you get, Nagy or Bieniemy.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll continue to get back into your phones, your calls, your texts. But coming up next, Derek wants a quarterback, and he wants it bad. So we've been talking a lot about drafting the potential quarterback of the future. But is there another quarterback out there that the Titans can get in a different way? We'll get into that coming up next. Plus, your calls, your texts. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
You love the game.
Predators win it in overtime. Touchdown, Tennessee.
We live the game.
My quarterback needs me to step up.
He can make a defense pay.
We are
1, 2, 3, 9.
I think it was a good game. You had a couple of big plays.
Roman Yossi scores.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Preds fans, you coming out for tonight's big game? The pre-party action is at Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville, steps away from Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy great specials like $3 off any appetizer in the bar area and $20 bucket specials on Bud, Bud Light, Mick Ultra, and Landshark beer. A sports TV viewing mecca, the Landshark Bar and Grill is a Lower Broadway must-see. That's the Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on the corner of 4th Avenue and Broadway. Stop in before the Preds game tonight.
And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
TriStar Moving and 1025 The Game celebrates the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Your Game Center update.
The NFL wildcard slate is wrapping up this evening with the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Winner of that one will go on to face the San Francisco 49ers. And earlier this weekend, the Jacksonville Jaguars had a 27-point comeback over the Los Angeles Chargers, winning 31-30. They'll go on and face the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cincinnati Bengals will go on and face the Buffalo Bills after taking down the Baltimore Ravens. And the Philadelphia Eagles will now host the New York Giants. And your Nashville Predators will host the Calgary Flames tonight to begin a back-to-back. Pre-game begins right here at 6 p.m. UC Saros draws in for the start this evening, while defenseman Alexander Carrier will be a game-time decision. Nashville has lost 3 in a row, and John Hines was asked on Saturday about how his team can regroup.
We got to take it, game by game. It's a lot of hockey in a short stretch, so we got to regroup from this one.
And Jeremy Fowler reports that the Tennessee Titans have requested to speak with Kansas City's offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. And of course, we are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook, and we are live here at Pete and Terry's. The Predators in action tonight, hosting the Calgary Flames. But Derek has been talking all week long, ever since the Titans lost to the Jags, even before the Titans lost to the Jags, how the Titans need to go out and get their quarterback. We've been talking a lot about if they find that guy in the draft. If that guy is there, a Bryce Young, a CJ Stroud, a Will Levis, what would the Titans have to do to go get that guy of the future? But there might be a guy out there that they could get, and they won't have to give anything up to get him. Because it was reported over the weekend that Tom Brady would be open to coming to the Titans. This was Ian Rappaport earlier this week.
Meanwhile, on the other team playing in the Monday night game, Tom Brady is a free agent after this season, going to be 46 years old. And yeah, there is, I would say, a chance that he does not return to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, despite the fact that they very much want him back and plan to make efforts toward that. Among the teams that would consider Brady, a couple of them considered Brady last time. The Tennessee Titans still have some quarterback questions there. The 49ers, if they do not decide to roll with Brock Purdy, although he's certainly stating his case. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, who have several of his old friends, including Josh McDaniels.
So there you go. Tom Brady and the Titans in the same sentence yet again.
I would like to press him on. Give me a little more where you're going.
Well, the first thing he said
Titans.
was wrong.
Like,
the first
really
thing he said wrong was the Titans have quarterback problems. They don't have a problem at quarterback. I think Ryan Tannehill is okay. They need to start thinking about their future. So I don't think it's just they don't have a quarterback. They have a quarterback. They just need to get our offensive line better. And again, I'm not going to sit here and not sign off on a potential Tom Brady to Tennessee. But if I'm Tom, why am I like, what is the allure to coming in
What's
here?
In it for me?
Is it just Mike Vrabel? They keep on trying to make this. People, I'm gonna tell you, you can't force a relationship, okay? Can't force a marriage. If it's not there, it's not there. You can try, but you can't force it. It's either there or it's not. It's gonna work. There's work involved in it, yes, absolutely. But if it's not there, it's not there. It seems like everybody's trying to force this Vrabel-Brady sort of marriage. And
I don't think it would be a forced marriage.
No, I'm not saying like in a sense if he was to come here that there would be any problems. But I think if Vrabel was on another team that wasn't doing so well, they'd be trying to force, Tom's going to, I don't know, Seattle because Vrabel's there. Tom's going to, Memphis Tigers if because he's there. It's just
go Tigers go.
Exactly, because it's like, just because Vrabel's here doesn't mean that Tom is coming or want to come here. Why would I leave? Again, I know Tampa has its problems. But one problem Tampa don't have is pass catchers. They got a bunch of those. They need to solidify that offensive line. But they got a bunch of pass catchers. They get him a new running back, solidify the offensive line. The defense is okay. He's back where he was 2 years ago. Why would I want to leave a system that I know already, players that I'm comfortable with, that I know, to come here with two pass catchers, one's a tight end and one's a receiver, no offensive line. I don't know who the offensive coordinator is. I don't know who the GM is. Hell, this team may not be the same in 2 or 3 years. I ain't going to even get a chance to play in that beautiful stadium they're going to build 3 years from now. So why, again, realistically, why would he come here other than Mike Vrabel? I'm like, seriously.
It's a fair question.
There's not much beyond the Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
It's a fair question.
Don't give me Nashville's a great city. Yeah, it is. I understand it. But he can move to Nashville if he want to. He doesn't have to play for the Titans.
A lot of players do.
Exactly.
Who never played for the Titans.
He moved to Tampa. I mean, it's not like Tampa is
like a bad place either.
It's not Los Angeles.
Exactly.
Right, and it has the same non-state income tax, right, which
true.
is a reason that people do that, move to Florida or move to Nashville or move to Vegas or Texas, right? That's what a lot of athletes do. It's by routine. And it really, sometimes it's connected to that's where they played, sometimes it isn't.
And I do think that, to your question, D-Mase, what is the attraction of coming here? Fair question. And a lot of people are saying, well, why would Tom Brady want to come here? There's no offensive line. Well, they're going to have to address the offensive line no matter who's under center, whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's Ryan Tannehill, whether it's Derek Mason. You're going to have to build up the offensive line. And I do think that that's on the Titans' offseason to-do list. You said the Titans have no pass catchers. You're 100% correct. That's what the Titans are going to have to address no matter who the quarterback is. So you're going to have to work on pass catchers. You're going to have to address the offensive line, period. Whether it's C.J. Stroud, whether it's Tom Brady. So is it as established of an offensive line or a pass-catching group as, say, maybe Tampa has in pass catchers? No. But you're going to address it anyways. Into the link with Mike Vrabel, I think that Tom Brady has had such friction with his past two head coaches. That's why he left New England. That's why he left Bill Belichick, because he didn't want to deal with Bill Belichick anymore. He basically got Bruce Arians fired because he couldn't deal with Bruce Arians' shenanigans anymore. I think that Mike Vrabel and Tom Brady duo, he knows it would work. They're friends. And to your point, who's the offensive coordinator? If Tom Brady came here, that's who your offensive coordinator is. Tom Brady is your offensive coordinator.
But then you have to change the offense completely again.
And I think the other thing is, I think you're making a strong case, Caroline, that it could work for 1 year. But is this a team that is up for a 1-year fix, or are we looking for the turnaround that's going to make it better for years to come? And you mentioned it. You have to be thinking about the new stadium somewhere along the line. Right? But
yes.
Because I don't know if this is a 1-year fix kind of team that could be super. Like if I'm Tom Brady, you got to give me a team that I might be able to take to a Super Bowl, right? Like why else is he playing? He's not just playing.
No, you're right.
Maybe I can get the Titans back to 10 or 11. Like I don't think he's in that mindset. He wants to go somewhere where he can take a team over the top.
If you go out and if you make this strong pitch, if I'm Mike Vrabel, if I make this strong pitch for Brady, that tells me one thing: you're worried about your job. You are really worried about your job. You're worried about your job so much so that you need to go get a guy that's going to be 47 years old, once the season starts. I believe his birthday is around there. He's going to be 47 years old. So you're that worried about your job that you got to go get a guy, and what if it doesn't work?
Then it doesn't work.
What if none of this work? What if you end up being, 9-8, or 10-7, or 8-9 again?
Right back where you were.
Right back where you were. To me, Caroline, again, I go back to keep Ryan Tannehill. But, I wouldn't be opposed if Brady. I wouldn't, if they decided to go get him, hey, they went and got him. Now they got to deal with whatever comes with that. To me, you need to get ready to reset this whole franchise. And by resetting this whole franchise, this means go and get your franchise quarterback. The Houston Oilers did it with Steve McNair. They reset their franchise. Now he had to sit a little while, but they knew they were resetting their franchise. They got Eddie George, then they went and got Steve McNair. Or was it Steve McNair then Eddie George? One of the two. But they knew they were resetting their franchise. Do it again. You can't play with Tom Brady forever. He's not 30 years old. You're gonna have to replace him anyway. You can't play with Ryan Tannehill forever. Reset your franchise right now while you're in a position to do so.
He turns 46 in early August. So he
46.
Will be, he will be
next
46.
season at 46 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
That is nuts.
I mean, he's still doing
43, 45, 46. It doesn't seem to matter, but he does. I mean, did you think he did slow down a little bit this year, like throwing the ball down the field?
Well, he needs more now than what he did in the past.
He just doesn't have any help.
He needs more help now as he get older.
Yeah, and they had no running game at all. He had a terrible running game this year.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll continue to get your thoughts on this. Should the Titans go after Tom Brady? We'll get into that. Plus, Willy brings up a fair point. Is this team just a one-year fix? But I think it's about 1 year, and it's not necessarily about a fix if the Titans do decide to pursue Tom Brady. I'll explain what I mean by that coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
No matter the down and distance and no matter the score, they're going to give him the football.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase to talk all things Titans and NFL.
I hope that they're not throwing flags simply because the league wants to see more of them.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
They are not as good at wide receiver and the playmaking department.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon. Presented by Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars and by Edley's Barbecue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a half carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
Hey guys, it's the new year. We popped the champagne, kissed at midnight, and it's time to make a new start. But if you aren't popping like you used to because of erectile dysfunction or low testosterone, maybe your new start should be making a call to the Tennessee Men's Clinic. You see, ED is just a medical condition affecting men of all ages. But the good news is that ED is highly treatable. In fact, the medical experts at the Tennessee Men's Clinic have successfully treated thousands of men, with ED treatments having success rates as high as 90%. And with a variety of ED treatment options, including acoustic wave therapy, they can likely find the right one for you. You might even find your cork is popping like it hasn't in years. Plus, their low T treatments are highly effective. So many men have experienced life-changing results, from increased energy to more productive workouts, feeling more rested, and enjoying a greater sex drive too. So make 2023 the year you get free of ED and low T. Make an appointment. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes a more comprehensive approach, including a testosterone lab panel and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment sex start results vary.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like discovering a refund tree has grown in your backyard.
I'm the refund tree.
Sawing off its branches.
Hey.
Feeding them through a wood chipper.
My branches! My beautiful branches!
And dancing in its refund rain. Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And hey, the Predators have a game tomorrow night, and it is your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. If you correctly guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game tomorrow night, you win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Participate in Pick to Click tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. with Robbie and Rexroad. So news coming out over the weekend, Tom Brady would be interested in coming to the Titans, along with the 49ers, along with the Raiders, and that list didn't necessarily surprise me. And he was a 49ers fan growing up. That's where he's from. Could have a Josh McDaniels reunion in Las Vegas. They need a quarterback. And then, of course, the obvious ties between Mike Vrabel and Tom Brady. It wasn't a surprising list at all. But you two sound kind of out on the Tom Brady business.
I'm not necessarily out on a Tom Brady business, but I'm thinking 3 or 4 years ahead. I'm thinking what this team could potentially look like if they go out and get their quarterback. Now, listen, you can go and get Tom, and just like keeping Ryan Tannehill. You can keep Ryan Tannehill and still try to move up in the draft to get your quarterback. Yeah. You can, go get Tom Brady and still move up in the draft and try to get your quarterback, because Tom, even if he plays 2 seasons, what after that? What are you going to do after that? You got to have someone that can be his successor, when he decides to retire.
Well, you can do both.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the Titans can still draft a quarterback in this year's draft if that's who they think is their guy of the future, and go out and get Tom Brady. You don't have to give anything up to get Tom Brady. So you have all your picks, and you have Tom Brady for at least next season. And I can't imagine he's going to play any longer than that. But I've been saying that every year for the past 5 years. So, who knows? Truly the Benjamin Button of the NFL. So you can do both. And Willie, you said it's not necessarily a 1-year fix. And I'm with you. I think that if the Titans decide to pivot offensively, it's not just going to take 1 year. And it's not just going to take a Tom Brady to get this team into the Super Bowl. I think this team is beyond just a Tom Brady to get to the Super Bowl. But it's not about fixing it, but this would be the last shot, the last glimpse of the window of this Titans offense that could get you there potentially. And that's what I think a move to get Tom Brady would be, is a last push of, okay, we're going all in to get Tom Brady. We may draft our quarterback of the future. What better person for that quarterback of the future to learn from than Tom freaking Brady? If the Tom Brady does come to the Titans, even considering all of the offensive issues that the Titans have going on, offensive line, lack of pass catchers, I still think the Titans could be viewed as a Super Bowl contender because of Tom Brady. And that's the difference that Tom Brady makes. And I said this a few months ago. I was like, I have no interest in a 46-year-old Tom Brady. But even at 46 years old, I'm looking at the Bucs of having a legitimate shot of winning tonight against the Cowboys because Tom Brady is their quarterback. Every week I pick the Bucs to win over who else it might be because Tom Brady is their quarterback. That's the difference that he makes.
Can we assume that Jared will have a room in his basement if indeed he does move here?
100%.
Is he doing a show from the basement?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
absolutely.
Man. Well, think about the firestorm in Dallas. If Dallas cannot beat this Tampa Bay team, boy. But so I don't know what's the line. Dallas has got to be favored in this game.
Dallas 2.5 is favored by 2.5, 3.5. It's not a crazy spread.
Very interesting matchup there.
Yeah.
But think about this is what I started thinking when you were talking about this, Caroline. You're selling Tom Brady. Let's say you can sell it, but you're selling on Tom Brady comes in, can still play at a top level at age 46. That's the first thing that's got to go right. Second thing, you got to revamp the entire offensive line. Okay. 3, you got to get some receivers that Tom Brady can throw to. You're changing your offense, right? Different philosophy. You got to have some versatile pass catchers. You got to have the right guys to throw to. And you're completely going to a different offense. You got a new offensive coordinator. He's got to come in. He's got to get it right. That's a lot that has to come together, right? Yeah. And this is all to have Tom Brady be there for 1 year. And if it doesn't go right, you're at ground zero the following year, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, it's just a lot that has to come together. Maybe it could. Tom Brady can make a lot work for sure, but that's just a lot to ask, I think.
Well, to your point about
that's why I'm against it. I'm not going down that road. I would just rather stay with Tannehill, I think, and still, like you said, Derek, looking for the next quarterback. You've got to have your eyes open for the next quarterback, but you already have Tannehill. Like you said, you don't have to give up anything to keep Tannehill for one more year. So is that the way to go? I don't know. That's what I would lean towards.
And I was against it. And the longer I thought about it, and when I saw that tweet over the weekend, the more and more I thought about it, the more I thought, why not? Because to your point, Willie, can he still play at an elite level at 46 years old? There's been nothing that Tom Brady has shown me that makes me think that he can't, which is wild. He is truly an anomaly. But there's been nothing that he's shown me, at least this season, that looks like he's regressing. Now, the team around him isn't very good, but Tom Brady is still playing at a high level. And the offensive line and the pass catchers, yes, you're going to have to totally revamp the offensive line. You're going to have to get some new pass catchers in here. You're going to have to do that anyway. Whether it's Tannehill, whether it's Brady, you have to do that anyway. And, not giving up anything to get him. And if it's just for a year, well, if you run it back with Tannehill, that's probably a one-year thing anyway. I don't see the Titans going into 2024 with Ryan Tannehill as their starting quarterback. The only thing is, if you cut Tannehill, it's the $18 million cap hit, which the Titans can make room with the cap. I'm not worried about the cap. It's more so, is Amy Adams-Strunk willing to write that $18 million check? Because that's real money for her. Titans can make the cap work, but that's real money for Amy Adams-Strunk on top of the competitive market for Tom Brady that you're going to have to pay Tom Brady.
That is a good question about the cap, though, because you could make the cap work. I would agree. But it would seem to me that the more cap space you could have to overhaul your offensive line, to add a receiver you want, to keep – you got to sign Jeffrey Simmons in here somewhere, right? That's a huge, huge thing at the top of the list of your priorities. The more cap space you have, the better you will be. Now, Tom Brady, what does he do? Derek, he usually works with you.
He works with
on the
you.
cap.
That's one thing he does, yeah. He will not – it's almost a sense Tom, from what I've seen, he's willing to take less than what he's worth to build up the team around him. So in the end, ultimately, he's worth more than what he took at the end of the day because he's getting championships, and that's all he cares about is winning championships. He knows the money will come if he wins championships, and he's won 7 of them. So he's like an ATM right now. So I don't think money would be a thing in regards to which team he's going through. Are you giving me more money or not? I don't think that's going to be a huge thing with him.
He doesn't have the Giselle money anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't have that.
I'm kidding.
But he still has a lot of zeros.
He has some income streams.
Exactly.
Right?
He got a little bit.
He'll be okay.
Yeah,
he's not eating ramen.
But I think what will entice him is what are you doing leading up to free agency? He has to walk in here. And you have to have a plan for him. What is your plan to Tom Brady? It's like hiring a GM in a sense. It's like hiring an offensive coordinator when you bring Tom Brady in. You don't ask Tom Brady, so what are your plans? What do you envision? No.
Taking Wednesdays off?
Yeah, Tom is coming in like, listen, what do y'all have that would make me come here? Mm-hmm. You got to give a strong pitch to him. It's not what does he bring to your team. What do you bring to his legacy? Do you have a team that is capable of winning a championship? That's bottom line.
Right now, no.
His deal. Like, my legacy, I can continue to build my legacy with championships. I don't build my legacy just getting into the playoffs and winning 1 game. I don't build my legacy just winning 2 games in the playoffs that end up losing. I build my legacy by winning more Super Bowls. So with that being said, Titans, tell me what you're playing. They got to have a plan if they want to get Tom Brady.
And I have to believe his number one priority is getting back to the Super Bowl before he retires.
So what is your plan on getting us back to the Super Bowl if I do indeed sign here?
I think it's a hard sell.
Who are you going out to get? Mm-hmm.
You may have to go beat the Jaguars.
You may have to go get DeAndre Hopkins, even though you may not want to. You may have to make the trade to go get him. You may have to sign a big money wide receiver in off season.
Mortgage the future.
Exactly.
And to that point, though, that this isn't something that I just cooked up and thought, hey, maybe Tom Brady to the Titans. It's coming out that Tom Brady would be interested in the Titans. So
that's why I want to hear. I want to hear more from the rap sheet on that one. I want a little more detail. Where's he coming from on that?
Where is that information coming from? Is it coming from Tom Brady himself? Is that to create more leverage with the Bucs? I don't know exactly what the intentions are, but it is coming from someone in Tom Brady's camp. That of the 32 teams in the league, there's 3 of them that he lists that he'd be interested in, and the Titans are one of them.
But weren't these the same teams that he was supposedly interested in before he went to Tampa?
And Tampa was not on his list of
And
teams
Tampa
that
was
he
not
was
on his
interested in.
list,
That
yes.
totally came out of left field.
Yeah, no. You're absolutely right. So are we, and I'm not saying you, Caroline, but is Ian Rappaport basing the information on what it was 2 years ago before Tom went to Tampa? It was Oakland. It was San Francisco. It was Tennessee. What's different? Oakland, San Francisco, Tennessee, the same 3 teams.
Yeah, and I guess the ties are still there.
Yeah, the ties are still there. Absolutely.
From San Francisco.
Yeah.
He's always wanted to go with the 49ers. And then, obviously the relationship with Mike Vrabel. And then the Raiders find themselves
with Josh
in an
McDaniel.
even more attractive spot for Tom Brady now. You've got Josh McDaniel, your former play caller in New England. And now they've got Devontae freaking Adams. And they've got Josh Jacobs. And they've got Darren Waller. They've got legitimate pass catchers. So, Vegas, I keep wanting to say Oakland, Vegas does look like a very attractive spot for Tom Brady. So it makes sense. So to everyone saying, that Brady wouldn't want to come here, it's not me making it up.
No.
Tom Brady started it. Wasn't me. Ian Rappaport started it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get into your thoughts on this. Should the Titans be interested in the Tom Brady business? And what would the Titans look like next year if Tom Brady was under center? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes.
Tune in to Robbie and Rexroad every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yost.
Matt Duchene. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey, it's time to tell you about Lee Company. Nashville is back home, and that means the Predators are in action against the Flames tonight. Lee Company will be the title sponsor of our radio coverage, anchored by Max Hers tonight, starting at 6 o'clock. Nashville versus Calgary, an important game in the Western Conference. Nashville chasing the Flames right now, and it is a big one. So Lee Company will be also on display when you come to Smashville tonight. A busy week for the Nashville Predators. Meanwhile, Lee Company has been busy as always, keeping your house in tip-top shape. During the wintertime, hey, stuff can happen with your plumbing, with your electric, with your heating. A little bit later when the weather starts turning warmer, it'll be your air conditioning. Stay on top of it with the home maintenance plan from Lee Company. You cannot go wrong. They're always going to be calling you to make sure things are in tip-top shape. They'll give you those annual appointments if you're part of the home maintenance plan, and they'll find the little problems before it gets to a crisis. And, by the way, if you do have the pipes burst, call Lee Company. They're always ready for you. 615-567-1000 or go to leecompany.com. That's 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com. Lee Company, proud sponsor, Nashville Predators.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Signs First, Nashville's foremost destination for event signage and physical media. Located just minutes from Broadway, our team of design, production, and installation professionals can help you create an unforgettable event. Stand out. Be different. Go to sfnash.com.
You look at yourself in the mirror every day and you can't deny it anymore. Your hair is not as thick as it used to be, and it's making you feel self-conscious. Hair Club is here to save the day. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair and feel confident again. No matter what stage of hair loss, they can help. Hair Club can customize a solution just for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase.
Today on Hey Culligan, smooth skin and soft hair comes from where? Here's Mike.
Hey Culligan, I've tried every conditioner, lotion, and body wash known to man, and my skin still feels like sandpaper.
It could be your water, Mike.
Oh, that's harsh.
More like hard water. Are you interested in smart, high-efficiency water softeners from Culligan Water?
Huh?
Want baby smooth skin and soft, luxurious hair?
Yeah, can you hurry? I have a date tonight.
We're already on the way, Mike. Let us help you out with the free in-home water test from a local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
We're Cromwell Media, and if you work here, you're family, and that means a lot. Dagwood has been our morning host on 102.9 The Buzz for 24 years. For Christy Maffett on our sales team, that means 23 years of service. Haley St. John, also an on-air talent on 102.9 The Buzz, is celebrating 10 years. Shannon Sanders, the architect behind 102.1 The Ville, joined our team 5 years ago. Charlotte Simmons, who works on our corporate team, has been with us for 3 years. Want to be part of our amazing Cromwell family? Contact us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from three.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Has Tom Brady played in his last Super Bowl, Stephen A?
I believe he has. I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl this year, and I think he's going to retire after this year. I think that this year has been a very humbling experience for him because there's so many things that are out of his control. And to go through the year that he's going through, it's not an indictment against him. He's had a lot of things going on, both personally and professionally. There was change with Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles and what have you. And to try to peel it all together, put it all together, yeah, you ended up going to the postseason, which is great. But I do think that this year was the kind of year, fellas, that makes you reflect on what you had and what you have. And I think it's one of those situations where he's just looking at his life right now. I personally think this is his last. This is his swan song. This is the last time. I think he's going to retire after this season, and they're not going to the Super Bowl because I don't believe they're getting past San Francisco and Philadelphia.
There you go. That was Stephen A. Smith on First Take. He says, yes, I think Tom Brady has seen his last Super Bowl. Stephen A. thinks that Tom Brady's going to retire after this year. I don't think so. I cannot imagine that Tom Brady would go out like this with a team that was pretty underwhelming. And I agree with Stephen A. I don't think that this Bucs team is going to make it to the Super Bowl. I don't see them getting past the 49ers. This team around Brady is just not very good. But I disagree. I don't think that Tom Brady has been to his last Super Bowl. I don't think that Tom Brady has taken a considerable step back. I think, if anything, he's been steady. I mean, threw for almost 4,700 yards this year. That doesn't sound like a quarterback that's starting to slow down. I think in the right situation with the right team, I think Tom Brady absolutely could get to another Super Bowl, and I think that's what he wants to do. I think that's the career goal that he has before ending it.
All right, D-Mase, I'm going to ask my question I always ask when you hear Stephen A. come with this. Is he just riffing his opinion, or does he have information to lead him to think? Or is it just this is what he thinks? He gets paid to say what he thinks. He gets paid a lot, and he is great at what he does. But I don't know if there's any real insight to that. He could be just opining of what he thinks, just like the three of us are sitting here. We don't know. We don't know anything about it. So do you think tonight has anything to do with Tom Brady's decision?
Ooh.
Like if they stink tonight and get ripped, does that sway him one way or the other? Or, obviously if they win, then they go out, they get another game. Who knows what could happen?
Okay. I'm gonna pose this scenario to y'all, and what would y'all do? Okay. Last year was a disappointment. You lost in what, the divisional? No, they lost in the NFC championship game, didn't they? To the Rams.
The Bucks.
To the Bucks.
No, the
They
Rams lost to the 49ers.
Yes.
So it would be the 49ers in the NFC championship game.
Yeah, so they lost in the divisional round. The Bucks did. Okay, so you lose in the divisional round, and then there's speculations of you possibly retiring, and then your marriage doesn't work out, so all that's going on, and then your team starts off slow. They pick up at the end because you start getting healthy, and then you get ousted in the first round of the playoffs. And being a uber competitor like he is, if y'all were Tom Brady, would you want to end on that note?
No.
Okay, that's the answer.
If you ended
There's
your
your answer.
marriage because you couldn't step away from football, would you then step away from football the
Absolutely.
next year?
So there's your answer. I don't think if after all of this stuff that has went on this year, because the playoffs was at the beginning of the year last year, and they got ousted. All this stuff that went on in his whole calendar year, you tell me that he's then going to walk away from football after having probably the most difficult year in his career. Do you think now he walks away? He didn't want to walk away from it when his wife asked him to. Now you're telling me he's going to walk away after everything that went on this season. He's just going to walk away from the game and say, you know what, I'm done. Hell no. Tom gets put out, he's coming back for another year. That's how competitors are, especially if he believes he still can do it.
I think that's the thing. If he feels healthy, he feels like he can still help a team, I would lean towards
coming back.
Play. He does, remember, have the standing offer from Fox, right,
Yep.
to just step right at his
is
post-career
So
is
that's
all
gonna
mapped
be
out.
there.
I don't think that
That's
offer is
always gonna be
going
there. Yeah.
anywhere.
And they don't have the Super Bowl next year. They have it this year, which is, remember, he had retired, and so it was like, well, we'll get Tom, and we'll put him in the booth, and he'll be calling the Super Bowl this year.
Psych.
Yeah, so that's not happening. And it's not happening next year because they don't have the Super Bowl next year. So you can push that off a little bit more, too. So I don't know. If I had to put my chips one way or the other, I would have to say he's going to play.
Totally going to come back,
Yeah.
and I don't think he's staying in Tampa Bay. I don't see a scenario where he stays in Tampa Bay. I think he's so unhappy there.
Okay, him coming to, I think, okay, let's look at the path to the Super Bowl. Being in the NFC, being in the AFC. In the AFC, I think he has a harder path to the Super Bowl than he would in the NFC, because not just you're looking at let's see here.
Well, you've got to go through
the Bills.
Mahomes,
You're looking
Allen,
at the Bills.
Burrow.
The Dolphins are a good team once they get their quarterback back. The Jets are going to be a better team depending on who they get as their quarterback. Baltimore, once they decide on who their quarterback is, they're always going to be a team. Cincinnati, we know they are. Pittsburgh is only going to get better. The Jaguars are only going to get better. Kansas City, the Raiders, and the Chargers. That's a lot you got to go through.
I think if I'm Tom Brady,
I'm
that
staying
Jaguars
put.
thing is a part of the equation. If I am looking at, I'm coming to Tennessee, it might have been really attractive a year or two ago saying, hey, that division's winnable. It's kind of like the AFC South has been for the Bucs. It's been pretty much a walkover for the most part. They've been clearly the best team. Even when they haven't been that great, they've still been better than the other three teams. But Jacksonville, what they're doing right now is got to be noticeable. It's got to be on the radar saying, wow, I got to go in and I got to beat a Jaguars team that looks like they're finally getting their ducks in a row.
I don't think that he thinks that way.
My path to the Super Bowl is a lot easier in the NFC than the AFC.
Totally. I agree with you. The path in the NFC is so much easier. But when you're Tom Brady, the most decorated player in the history of the National Football League, you don't get there without having the mentality of, I am better than any of you, whether it's true or not. That mentality of, there is nobody that can outwork me. There's nobody that can outperform me. And I don't think that the Jags would instill fear in a player with mentality like that. Let's not forget, he chose to go to Tampa Bay when Drew Brees was still in New Orleans. It's hard to forget that the Saints were actually relevant just a handful of years ago. The Saints ran that division. And he decided to go to that division where the path to an NFC championship or even an NFC South championship wasn't necessarily easy.
But But Drew Brees, when he got there, Drew Brees was basically done. That New Orleans team was going downhill as opposed to going
2019
uphill.
was really its
when he
last
got
run.
there.
Although they did have to win in New Orleans, if I remember correctly, that when they won the Super Bowl, they did have to go through New Orleans and win there. I feel like that was like the last hurrah of the Drew Brees.
It could have been.
Yeah.
But you look
when
at that
the Saints
division.
beat them twice in the regular season, and then the Bucs
Remember
beat the Saints in the playoffs.
first game that Brady played in New Orleans? The
Yeah.
first game he played for the Bucs, he had the nightmare. He threw the pick sixes and things like that.
It was rough for him.
Yeah.
It was. But then they started to get better as a team.
Well, they were
as the year
7-5,
went
and it
on.
looked like, man, this may not work. And then all of a sudden, they stopped losing.
But in the NFC, again, I don't think this. Now, Carolina, I think, will be a better team. I think they will be. But New Orleans and Atlanta, the jury is still out on those two teams. I think, to me, Tampa is the perfect spot for him for his final year. Why? Because he has the pass catchers. The offensive line, once they get healthy, they need to get them another running back. That's not a lot to get. When you got pass catchers and you retool your offense or they get healthy, getting a running back is like, if that's your only problem, then great. You know, if you leave there, the only place you could go to that is already like ready-made for you is Oakland and probably San Francisco. But San Francisco, if Josh Purdy, if Josh Purdy continues to play the way he's playing, he's their quarterback for the future. Damn Trey Lance and everybody else, he's their quarterback of the future moving forward. If he continues to play the way he's been playing, that defense has been lights out, but Purdy, he's been playing really damn good. So they might not even be in a market for Tom Brady once it's all said and done.
That's a great question to see, like, how much more will they need to win for them to say, I think this Purdy guy is our starter. Like, you still have to be a little skeptical. Like, if he lays an egg in the next game, that might sway them one way. But if they win another couple, then they've got a really good team. I do wonder what their thinking is.
But it's almost like,
and they have Trey Lance in this equation somewhere too.
Trey Lance, who they gave up 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Who
Oh,
they
man, that's
thought,
tough.
I mean, I have to imagine if you're going to trade 3 first-round picks, you view that guy as your future. So I don't know if I don't know if the 49ers would be willing to pivot in order to get Tom Brady for a year, but the 49ers don't seem like a very likely landing spot.
No, I
know
agree.
that's
There's too
what
much
Brady
going on
would
there.
want, end your career with the team that you grew up rooting for. It's a very storybook ending. It just doesn't seem very feasible. We are right into your phones coming up next. Your thoughts, should the Titans pursue Tom Brady? 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willie, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, boys and girls, add this to your New Year's resolutions. Win money in 2023 with Superbook Sports. Hey, it's me, Chase. Superbook has over 3 decades of sports wagering experience right there in Las Vegas. So you'll get the best odds boost anywhere as we continue the football playoffs. Plus, you can check out their special odds boosts and promotions over at superbook.com. Make 2023 the year when you win money from Vegas. Oh, I love Vegas. Download the Superbook Sports app now and place your bets. If you're looking to tonight, Dallas -2.5 on the road at Tampa Bay. Tom Brady looking to lead the Bucs past the Cowboys, but I like Dallas tonight to get it done on the road in as a cap-off to Super Wildcard Weekend. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line of Credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willy Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments, so the first payment is not until spring of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
Vanderbilt fans, your flagship home for the broadcast of football and men's basketball is 93.3 Classic Hits. And for the weekly Commodore Hour featuring head coach Jerry Stackhouse, tune in to 94.9 The Fan on Monday nights at 6 p.m.
They're insightful.
To me, you got a left guard situation you got to figure out.
Credible.
I trust this guy more than this guy.
But sometimes they just argue.
Why do you like the NFL playoffs? Those teams lose
I don't want college football to be the NFL.
When they get...
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We're like, Tom Brady's going to Vegas. Yep. There's 100%. We got to the point where Tom Brady's going to Vegas. They got weapons. Obviously, Devontae's there. Darren Waller's there. Hunter Renfrow is there. They got a running back in Josh Jacobs who said, I just want to be a Raider. They seemingly have all the pieces that Tom Brady would want when it comes to a personnel department. Then you add in Josh McDaniels was the guy in his ear for literally the best moments of his life, and he's trying to run that offense with Derek Carr, and obviously it's not taking place. So Tom Brady's going to the Raiders. That just makes too much sense. We got to that point on this show. Now it's being talked about that the Raiders are certainly going to look into Tom Brady, and also Jimmy G, I believe, was the other report, because Jimmy G has history with McDaniels as well, and he'll be on the move.
There you go. That was Pat McAfee on Tom Brady's next landing spot. And can you imagine a Raiders team with Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Josh McDaniels as your head coach, and then Tom Brady comes in? Whew, that's a scary team. But let's get your thoughts on it. Back to your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. If you have a thought, Tyron is in Brentwood, isn't up next. What's up, Tyron?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I'll tell you, a couple of things is, the Rappaport report, and that's news to me. I still, like I said, I would never rule out Tennessee because Mike Vrabel, the relationship they have, I know it's sincere and they're tight like that. So, I mean, he could come here, but I'm still of the mindset the Dolphins are the favorite. I believe that. I've thought that all year. I thought last year they went through everything to get him. They got fine draft picks, fined millions of dollars. The owners got suspended to mid-October to his concussion situation. I don't know if he will play for McDaniel. I still don't rule out the pairing that they wanted a year ago, Peyton and Brady to the Dolphins. But I still think Miami's the favorite. I don't buy the Niners because I think Purdy's going to be the guy. I really believe that. And then they'll have, trade capital for Trey Lance. Raiders, it makes sense. I don't trust Josh McDaniels. He sucks and blows. So that's that on that. If he comes to Tennessee, though, it tells me one thing, and I think it could happen. I think the Dolphins are the favorite. Let me be clear. But if he comes to Tennessee, obviously his relationship with Mike Vrabel, that's gigantic, number one. But number two, I've always wondered, and nothing still, to me, more meets the eye on why did you fire John Robinson in season after the Philly game? There's no way Amy Adams-Strunk got caught in her feelings how A.J. Brown torched him that day. So it's got to be something bigger. And I'll tell you this, if Brady comes to Tennessee, it just wasn't an overnight thing. Him and Vrabel's been talking, plotting, planning. Two things come to fruition here. Number one, that's why they fired him, because they knew he wouldn't be on board to make a move like this, being John Robinson. It also kind of tells me go back to a few years ago when Brady's a free agent.
All right, thank you for your call, Tyron. I appreciate your call. The idea that John Robinson wouldn't be on board with Tom Brady, so they fired him in the middle of the season, that's a little bit far of a reach for me. I can't quite get there. To his second point about John Robinson, I am of the belief that Amy Adams Strunk fired John Robinson in the middle of the season because she knew who she wanted to go to next. I can't rationalize it any other way because any other rationalization just doesn't make sense. Firing him in the middle of the season when you still are on track to win the division, when you have a winning record, when he has yet to have a losing season, it just doesn't make any sense.
But was it rational? I think it's pretty clear they did not have their next guy.
And it could be
ready, waiting in the wings. Did they?
Just a bad move. It could have been just an irrational decision.
I mean, maybe just the A.J. Brown thing was stinging so much at the time. I mean, we can theorize all we want, but it just doesn't look like there's any evidence to say, I know who I want. I know I've got the guy in mind. Because they're still interviewing and they're going through a lot. I mean, they're not just going to elevate a guy that was working down the office, I don't think. Are they? I mean, maybe they will, but
maybe
looks like
not.
they're going outside.
I don't know. Again, they could be you got to satisfy the Rooney Rule, so they got to go out and they got to interview.
And by the way, I'm going to go on record. I hope that they go with the minority. I think it would be a great thing. And it's got to be the right person, right?
Exactly.
It's got to be for the right reason that you think this person is the best person. But I'm just hoping in the big picture of it, especially with all of the sensitivity towards it, all that went through last year, I'm hoping that that's the direction it ends up being.
Yeah, whether it's that direction or not, this team has to figure out that. And then in the process of figuring out that, you got to figure out your OC. Then in the process of figuring out your OC, you got to figure out with the OC and the GM and the head coach, how do we look moving forward as a team? Should we try to, reach out to Tom after the season and see what he's thinking? Or should we stay put with Ryan Tannehill as our quarterback because he's not the reason that our season was the way it was this year. Actually, when he played well. And then go out and get our quarterback. If you are doing what's best for this franchise, you go out and get your quarterback now while you got a chance to do it. Play with Ryan Tannehill. Build up this roster so when that rookie comes in to play, whether it be this year or next year, everything's ready, set for him to go.
Million is up next. What's up, Million?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for having me on the show. I just want to fill in and chime in on the subject today. First and foremost, I just don't feel like right now it is ethical for us to bring in Tom Brady because we have to start from the basics. In order to have a franchise quarterback, you have to have a healthy O-line and you're just pretty much some receivers to throw the football.
What do you mean it's not ethical?
Because I'm just saying at his age and his dilemma in his career right now, he wants to win. And I feel like right now our organization, we don't have a GM. We don't have an OC. We pretty much are in the
you're going to get a GM
middle.
and an OC.
Correct, but what I'm saying is that at his age right now, with the rosters that we have implicated, do you find it a fit for him to come to Tennessee? At this stage of his career, maybe 5 years ago it would have been more reasonable, but right now, would you say it's a win-win situation? I just don't see it. I mean, and at the same time, we have to
million.
So it's he's saying it's, I guess, not practical, I think is what he's trying to say.
Or it's
There's
like,
nothing unethical about it.
Yeah.
It's not a shady thing. Like you're not breaching your ethics to bring him in.
Yeah,
I don't know if the point was he's
for them.
old and the offensive line isn't very good, so it's not ethical to put him in that
Right,
situation.
ethical is the wrong word, but I think he's saying there's a lot that has to line up right. Is it really realistic? I think some of the questions you're asking, what's in it for Tom Brady? I see all that.
I get it.
Yeah.
But also, the Titans would not be pulling in Tom Brady kicking and screaming against his will. If Tom Brady came to the Titans, it's because he wanted this to be their next landing spot, and the Titans gave him an attractive offer. It's not like he's going to be forced to do anything or to go anywhere or to play for anybody that he doesn't want to.
Well, again, it comes down to, what is not when you bring in a quarterback or whatever, a player, it's like, okay, what can that player do for you? You're still trying to, bring him in, what can he do for us? Well, we know what Tom can do, period. We've shown what he can do. Now, what can you do for him? Again, how can you build on his legacy? Because that's right. Right now, that's what he's playing for, his legacy. He's playing to stack things more on top of his legacy. He's not playing for anything else, not playing for the money. I mean, he loves the game, obviously, but in loving the game, you're playing for your legacy as well. So he's walking into the Titans facility like, okay, what is your pitch to me? Who do you got? Who am I throwing to? Who's going to be my offensive line? Are you going to do the necessary things to make sure that I'm protected? Are you going to do the necessary things? If I say, hey, listen, Mike, I need you to go out. I need D-Hop. I need him. He needs to be. Are you willing as an owner to do that? Mike, Amy,
we need Gronk.
We need Gronk. or we need, Orlando Brown at left tackle. Are you willing to then go out and do that? Tampa got the things that he wanted. Tampa did, and they won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Are you willing to do that as an owner?
Would it mean a Super Bowl?
I don't know.
But
are you willing to do it?
I need to not come in on Wednesdays.
Exactly.
I need time. I'm not going to come in until Thursday.
Exactly. So
these are the kind of concessions
you got to make
that
these
Tampa
concessions with Tom Brady. Are you willing to do that, Mike Vrabel, considering it's about team? Are you willing to say Tom's not going to be here until Thursday? He's taking Wednesday off. Yeah, he's learning the playbook, but he's taking Wednesdays off. You'll see him on Thursday. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to go get D-Hop if he wants him? Are you willing to go get Orlando Brown if you want him?
You're going to have to be. And that's what you have to understand and be okay with.
Yeah.
And understand that if you do go out and get Tom Brady, then it's under his terms as well. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get TD's thoughts on all of this. ESPN NFL Nation reporter Teron Davenport joins us coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You love the game.
Tennessee touchdown! Middle Tennessee gets the score.
We live the game.
Just work on the little things every day.
They think the coaches are just coaches.
We are.
Ranks and he scores!
On both sides of the ball. One big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
And I want to suggest some of the things that should be in your life's blueprint. Number one in your life's blueprint should be a deep belief in your own dignity, your own worth, and your own somebodyness. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you are nobody. Always feel that you count. Always feel that you have worth. And always feel that your life has ultimate significance.
TriStar Moving and 102.5 The Game celebrates the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Now, your Game Center update.
The NFL wildcard slate is wrapping up this evening with the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Winner of that one will go on to face the San Francisco 49ers. And earlier this weekend, the Jacksonville Jaguars had a 27-point comeback over the Los Angeles Chargers, winning 31-30. They'll go on and face the Kansas City Chiefs. The Cincinnati Bengals will go on and face the Buffalo Bills after taking down the Baltimore Ravens, and the Philadelphia Eagles will now host the New York Giants. And your Nashville Predators will host the Calgary Flames tonight to begin a back-to-back. Pre-game begins right here at 6 p.m.
UC Saros draws in for the start this evening, while defenseman Alexander Carrier will be a game-time decision.
Nashville has lost 3 in a row, and John Hines was asked on Saturday about how his team can regroup.
We got to take it, game by game. It's a lot of hockey in a short stretch, so we got to regroup from this one.
And Jeremy Fowler reports that the Tennessee Titans have requested to speak with Kansas City's offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and Matt Nagy. I'm Nick Kieser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willie, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. And of course, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Teron Davenport joins us now. TD, the Titans have requested interviews with Matt Nagy, with Eric Bieniemy. Your interpretation of the Titans going out and requesting interviews from guys that don't come from the Shanahan system, from the offensive system that the Titans run, and your thoughts on those two as being potential offensive coordinators for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I think both of those guys would be really good options. And when you look at Eric Bieniemy, people will ask, well, why would he make the move? He does call plays at Kansas City. He's not a full-time play caller, so it is a move that could be made to where coming here, he will be a full-time play caller. And I think, you're tapping into one of the best offenses. And obviously, it's a lot different when you don't have Pat Mahomes, but I still think Bieniemy would be a plus. And when you look at Matt Nagy, a lot of people will focus on his time with the Bears as the head coach, which for the most part wasn't good, but there's a reason why he got a head coaching job. Now, it's because he was a very good OC with the Chiefs. So I think both of those would be really solid options. They're guys that, are established and proven, and they would come in and really help the offense without a doubt.
Now, TD, this weekend, I think sort of validated, well, not sort of, at least in my eyes, it validated my argument last year, and it's validated my argument this morning that, yes, you can keep Ryan Tannehill, or, if you want to go out and get Tom Brady, then so be it. But from what I've seen this weekend with the quarterbacks that I saw, it's imperative that the Tennessee Titans go out and get their quarterback this year. Because if they don't, I think they fall further and further behind the AFC, not just their own division, but I mean the AFC in general.
Yeah, that's something that I could reason with. I just don't know who's out there to go get. And I like Bryce Young an awful lot. I don't know that I would move heaven and earth to go get him. Now, if you're talking to me about Caleb Williams next year, yeah, I would say do what you got to do. But I don't know that there's a quarterback out there to be had for them. And I think, when you look at what they've been able to do with Tannehill, I know he's not a 5,000 or even a 4,000 consistent yard passer, but I still think they could get it done with Tannehill under center. But, when you have that type of situation, you have to be perfect around him, and that's something that, they've struggled to do as of late.
Now, how is it looking from the GM standpoint? Guys have been interviewed. I know they had a handful of interviews this past weekend. They're going to continue to interview guys moving forward. But do you think they're closer to finding their next GM, or you think they will continue to go through the process of interviewing guys?
Yeah, I think they're closer. They did say they're going to go through the process of interviewing guys. I don't know many candidates left. Ray Farmer is a guy that comes to mind who used to be a GM for the Browns. That's a possibility. But as far as like direct candidates associated with them, I don't know of any as of yet. But I mean, you look at what they've interviewed already. The caliber of guys. Ian Cunningham, who has spent time with the Ravens and Eagles before being in Chicago. Here you look at Glenn Cook. Dating back to the time with the Packers. You got Malik Boyd, who has been, instrumental in what the Buffalo Bills have. So those are guys, Rand Carthon, a really good candidate out of the 49ers. He's helped build that team. So you got some really good candidates. Quentin Harris, with Arizona. Those are all really good options, including Monty and Ryan Cowden. So they've already gone through 7. I don't know of any new names to be put into in this whole process of prospect evaluations.
Teron, we were sort of saying this in the context of when they made the decision to fire John Robinson in the middle of the season. There was a lot of us were wondering, did they already have the candidate in mind? It really looks to me, anyway. I'm bouncing it off you for your opinion. Is I don't think that she had the next candidate in mind because of the extensive list that they put together. There's a lot of people, I think, with interest in this job and a lot of different backgrounds here. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think they have a candidate in mind. And, one of the things that I really like and I have to commend them for is, a lot of times organizations, they'll hit the Rooney Rule by, hey, we'll interview a token guy. They went out 5 of the 6 external candidates, not including Adam Peters. 5 of those 6 were minorities, So I really, I want to shout them out for that because that is definitely, giving the kind of leveling the playing field, giving more people an opportunity rather than just going right to, hey, we got this guy in the building, let's just give him the job.
That is noticeable, that part of it, Teron. And so I do wonder, and I just brought this up, and here we are on Martin Luther King Day, and of course it was such a sensitive issue last year with the whole fallout from the Brian Flores thing, and it does look like, if you look at historically with this franchise, you could argue that they're sort of due. It's time to hire a minority there. But it has to be the right person. I understand that part of it. But it does look like there's a really good chance that they might hire their first African-American or minority general manager.
Yeah, it does look like there's a good chance. And, come to think of it, one other name, he hasn't been in football, for a couple years now, but Rick Smith is a guy I wonder if they would, reach out to him, being as though he has history with Mike Vrabel back when they were with Houston. And, I mean, he did a really good job building that roster before Bill O'Brien tore it down.
Teron, I wonder what the questions are in terms of if you're the GM. Hey, how much do you think these candidates are asked? And we can't know this, but what do you think of our roster? Do you think we should break it down? Do you think we can run it back? What would you do either way? I wonder, how the philosophy of these candidates matches with what Mike Vrabel thinks. And like we said, it's hard for a coach to say, yeah, let's go through a rebuild. Coaches probably aren't wired that way as much. So who are the other people sort of leaning the other way to try to have those checks and balances?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's something that I wondered because, the people who are in on the interview process, they're not exactly football people. So, it's hard to get down and talk about the nitty-gritty part of roster building. But I think really when you look at it, it's all about looking at that plan that said candidate has, some of the things that they feel that they could do in order to build the roster and get it back to the point of where it was just 2 years ago, right? Because you look at this time a couple years ago, I mean, we're like, hey, this team is the number 1 seed in the AFC, and now here they are 7-10, and ending the season on a 7-game losing streak. So how can you get it back to that? I think that's a question that can really legitimately be asked in these interviews.
Teron Davenport is with us, and kind of to piggyback off of Willy's question, what do you think the Titans are prioritizing when looking at their next GM, when they're conducting these interviews? Is it history of talent evaluation? Is it, fitting into this culture? What are they prioritizing? When the day comes when the Titans announce their GM, what will that GM be best at, or what will their career really stand out as?
I think it's more going to be on a culture and finding talent standpoint, which is, that is the job, right? You help establish the culture and you add talent to the roster. And I think the ability to draft and develop talent is going to be a big part. So the drafting part of it, hey, that's the GM working with the head coach and Mike Vrabel to develop the talent is a part of the collaboration. And if you notice, that collaboration that's a word that, has been mentioned multiple times when they're discussing this GM search.
And last one for you, TD. Ian Rappaport reported over the weekend 3 teams that Tom Brady would be interested in going to next year: 49ers, Raiders, and the Titans. Is that something that you think the Titans should be interested in, is pursuing Tom Brady?
Well, I mean, anytime you could get a chance to at least look at adding a guy like Tom Brady, what it would do for your roster, you should definitely consider it. I don't know if it's something that they should, pursue all out, but it is something I think you have to at least consider. But, when he comes in, that impacts the OC also, right? Because he has his offense that he runs. How is the OC that you hire going to be able to, work with that? We've seen it work at times. We've seen it clash too, so we'll have to see how that plays out.
And I guess when Tom Brady comes in, he is your offensive coordinator.
Essentially.
Teron Davenport, we appreciate you joining us, as you do every Monday at 1 o'clock. Thanks for joining us, TD. We'll chat with you next week.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you. Take care.
All right, TD.
All right, coming up next, the Titans have requested interviews with Eric Bieniemy, with Matt Nagy. What do we think? We'll get into that coming up next. And, of course, your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game. Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe here for Hair Club. I've been talking about them for a few months now, and, I want to get some help for my hair. It's thinned out in spots, power outages, if you will. I love my hair. I love my look, so I wanted to do something about it. That's why I gave Hair Club a call. Hair Club, no matter what your issue is, restoration, regrowth, small problems, big problems, whatever, they have the answers, and they are all tailor-made just for you. All you need to do is go in for a free consultation, and they'll help you out with whatever your hair situation may be. Hair Club has a solution. Fill out the form at hairclub.com/chase to schedule that free consultation, and they'll give you 10% off anything that you happen to purchase just because I sent you. Text Chase, C-H-A-S-E, that's me, to 694-247. That's 694-247. It's Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a half carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
With one of the best savings rates in America, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Even easier than choosing Slash to be in your band.
Next up for lead guitar. You're in.
Cool. Yep, even easier than that. And with no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, I think it's interesting because, everything Vrabel has done in the past has been so internal. And now he's got to interview people from outside. But the fact that he's asking two guys from the same team, I think is interesting. And it's, it's a good team to ask. They score a ton of points. And they scored points, before Mahomes got there because it's the Andy Reid, system. And so I think that's interesting that they might be willing to say, hey, we might need to start looking and doing things a little bit different way.
There you go. That was News 2's Corey Curtis on Robbie and Rex Road this morning. And I think that is the biggest thing. Again, the Titans requesting interviews with Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy and Chiefs quarterbacks coach, former Bears head coach, former Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. I think beyond the interviews and however the offensive coordinator position comes to fruition, the biggest thing to me is the Titans requesting those interviews because neither of those coaches run the system that the Titans currently run. Both of those coaches run the Andy Reid, Philadelphia, Kansas City offense. Mm-hmm. The Titans run the Shanahan West Coast offense. So that, to me, the fact that they're requesting interviews for those two is the Titans showing, hey, we're looking into doing things possibly a little bit differently next year. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to go with either of those two. Per Josina Anderson, Eric Bieniemy is focusing on head coaching interviews. Matt Nagy has not responded to the request yet, but it's still the Titans saying, hey, we could go out there and change our system.
Ghosted by Matt Nagy.
I think honestly, probably what it is with Matt Nagy is more than likely he won't get another head coaching job no time soon. But if Bieniemy moves out, he gets elevated. Yeah, so I can understand why. Listen. Thank you, but no thank you, Titans. I'm going to stay put because just in case Eric Bieniemy leaves. I'm going to hold off. Exactly. Then I get elevated. Then you make yourself more tractable for a head coaching job years down the line. Either guy, whether it's Bieniemy or Nagy, I think first thing is first. Are you willing, and we've talked about this earlier in the show, are you willing to change philosophies? Well, you are given a perception that you are because you want to interview these guys. You've reached out to Kansas City. Can we interview these guys?
And you reached out to both of them.
Exactly. So you're willing, if we don't get this one, then possibly we can get the other. Uh-huh. So you're willing to sort of change what you're doing from an offensive standpoint. But then you got to ask yourself, are we in a position to then go out and get the players to fit this system? Are we willing to spend the money to go get the players in this system? Are we willing to part ways with guys that are already on this team, guys that have been key cogs in what we've been doing, guys that have been leaders on this team? Are we now willing to move away from those guys or move away from those guys and move forward with other guys that may fit the system that either Nagy or Bieniemy would bring?
And boy, you can't help but just the first guy that comes to mind is Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
It's all there's a lot that revolves around that with him, and he's under contract. Remember they redid his contract last year,
but
he had a good year. It's not like he's really sliding down. He's at that point where you're like, I could argue that, hey, let's roll it back again. He's still really good, and I could also argue, look, he's going to be 30. It's time to scale it back a little bit. What's the best way? And then what do you pay a guy like that? Like taking Kansas City and really that whole offense, those guys don't pay for running backs. They don't pay a dime. They find the right guys who can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They mix and match, and they get production that way.
And the
it
running
works.
backs are an extension of the pass-catching core
100%.
in that system, especially with Kansas City.
And that's not Derrick Henry.
That's not Derrick Henry. And to your point, I mean, he was the second leading rusher in the NFL. You know, he's still
He brings a lot to the table.
Absolutely.
And not only that, but with the locker room. But he's the leader. He's the unquestioned spiritual leader of the team, right? He's the heartbeat.
But
so you're changing a lot if you're taking him and changing his role.
But my thing is this. If you keep Derrick Henry, say if you keep him, you say, well, no, we're not going to even go down that road. Well, you're keeping Derrick Henry for him to retire here, I think, past this season. Because if you bring in a new offensive coordinator, things are going to change. And what you're saying and what Amy is saying, no, I want Derrick to retire a Tennessee Titans. He's here no matter what. That guy's staying. If you're not going to stick with Derrick Henry, then you need to trade him this year. You need to get rid of him this year because I think this year he has the most value that he's going to have moving forward. He's coming off a 1,500-yard season. He would have been a leading rusher had he played in the last game. Good thing he didn't play in the last game. You look at the Chargers and what they did. Mike Williams got hurt in the game that didn't mean anything, but there you go. But this is a guy that arguably could have been – he could have won the rushing title again.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do anything with Derrick Henry, it needs to be this year because you're going to get the most value for him if indeed you want to trade him.
And the value is only going to slip for a 30-year-old running back. But I think the question with these two offensive coordinators, there's two questions. Why would they want to come here? And two, what is attractive to the Titans about those two? And why they would want to come here. Bieniemy, a lot of people are saying it would be a lateral move, which, yes, technically the job title, you would be going from offensive coordinator to offensive coordinator, and your job would be more difficult because you're doing it without Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and you're doing it without Andy Reid, an offensive guru. But then you would be lead play caller. Your role would elevate. You would have more responsibility. Like TD mentioned, he splits play calling duties with Andy Reid, and I have to imagine it's a very Andy Reid influenced play calling system. So he would be the guy. He would be your offensive coordinator. He would be your offensive guru. He would be your offense. So that would be technically an elevation for Bieniemy. And then for Nagy, it's you get to be an offensive coordinator. You get to play a larger role. You know, you're a quarterback's coach in Kansas City. You didn't get very many opportunities after you got fired in Chicago. You get the opportunity to be an offensive coordinator. That's the attraction. And the quarterback situation with the Titans isn't necessarily set. The offensive coordinator that comes in gets to come in with potentially a blank canvas. Who do you want your quarterback to be? What offensive system do you want to run? We can tailor all of that to what you want to do in the future. You can handpick your guys moving forward.
Yeah, you can. So that's going to be, you know, it's. I'm not saying it's a dilemma, but you know, it's a lot for this organization to think about. Again, the shift this offseason is critical for the Titans. They've already fired the GM. They're looking for another GM. They fired their OC. They're looking for another OC. They need to get while you're hiring your OC, you're hiring your GM. After you do that, conventional wisdom tells me that go get your quarterback too while you're in the process. Go get your next franchise quarterback. Again, doesn't mean you got to move on from Ryan Tannehill. Doesn't mean you can't still go out and get Tom Brady if you want to. But new GM, new OC. I need a new quarterback in the future. I need to get me some guy because they're not going to be that bad of a team to be able to draft the kid out of USC next year. They're not going to be that bad of a team. If we believe Mike Vrabel is the coach that we say he is, they're never going to be that bad to be able to draft in the top 5, top 2. So why not try to move up in the draft now, whether it's Stroud, whether it's Young, whether it's Will Levis. One of those guys, you got to evaluate them. So maybe Will Levis is the guy for your franchise. But you would never know if you never try to move up to get one of these quarterbacks.
Well, if they do think that he's the guy, you got to do what you got to do to get
exactly.
him. But if they don't see a guy in this draft that they're like, we don't really see any of these quarterbacks being our guys of the future, well, then you run it back, and then you wait to see which guy is your quarterback of the future. Nate is on the line. What's up, Nate?
Good afternoon, y'all. And I'm sorry if I'm bringing something up that y'all talked about before. I haven't been able to listen to the whole show today. I was listening to Tyron's call, and I don't really understand why the front runner would be Miami. And Derek, I know you can help us understand a little better, but wouldn't you kind of think that Tom Brady is a little more hesitant to go to Miami because of the Tua situation? And he might think that, what if I go there? Am I going to be in that predicament?
Yeah, thanks, Nate.
Thank you. Yeah, but I think the Miami's they're in a conversation because they don't know what's the future of Tua.
Uh-huh.
This is the guy that's had 3 concussions. I know they didn't count that first one as a concussion, but anybody with eyes can see that was a concussion. And subsequently, a couple of weeks later, he has a concussion. I think it was a week later or 2 weeks later, he has a concussion. And then he has another one. So the Dolphins have to evaluate, their quarterback position based upon, Tua's injury situation. He may not ever play again, or he may be one more concussion from never playing again. So you have to, as a GM, you have to look into possibly bringing in another quarterback. That's the only responsible thing to do for an organization that has receivers, tight ends. The defense is pretty good. They need to elevate that a little bit more, but their offense can score with anybody. Now, if Tua can't play or you're still hesitant about him playing, then you have to look outside to potentially go get Tom Brady.
And I think Miami being the front runner, I think a lot of that comes down to the pass catchers. You've got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, one of the best duos in the NFL. And then Mike McDaniels, what's the future with him? Because Sean Payton is still out there. And I know that ever since, the Chargers blew it in the playoffs against the Jags, a lot of people are saying Brandon Staley's getting fired. I would agree. I think Brandon Staley's days are numbered. A lot of people are saying, okay, a marriage between Sean Payton and Justin Herbert, that's exactly what this team needs, an offensive guru to really help Justin Herbert, get to his potential. That move makes sense. But Miami and Sean Payton makes sense to me too. I mean, and Tom Brady going into an offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, coached by Sean Payton, that to me seems obvious almost. And Tom Brady has a house in Miami, so I think that's why a lot of people are putting Miami and Tom Brady kind of in the same conversation.
We were texting the three of us a little bit yesterday after that Dolphins game, which was such a fascinating game from a lot of different ways. Like Buffalo really struggled and overcame a lot of real big goof-ups to beat a team that's playing with their third-string quarterback.
Right.
But, as you're sitting there today in Miami and you're assessing, let's take away Tom Brady, let's take away Sean Payton just for a moment, but you're trying to assess the season, right? You're like, okay, when we had everything rolling, we looked pretty good. Like, we beat Buffalo. Like, we've beaten some teams. But a lot went wrong. What's going on with Tua? You got a first-year head coach. He was brilliant in a lot of ways, but mismanaged some things yesterday. He's a young head coach. Can he get better? I think Mike Vrabel has gotten better in that area the more he's coached, right? So what do you think of that going forward? And you're trying to win now if you're Miami. They've gone through the tank for Tua. They went through the whole thing where they were almost got in trouble for tanking, right? They almost were, and I think they got off a little easier than they should have on that, honestly. But now you're trying to win at this point. So I can't see them firing their coach after 1 year. But on the other hand, it's like, hey, it's time to get it done down there. But that's an interesting thing to unpack, that whole season. It came at you from a lot of directions. They went from being a team that was surefire, challenging for the division, to barely got in, and then should have gotten blown out yesterday, but almost pulled it off.
Game.
Yeah.
And I think it was mismanagement by Mike McDaniels yesterday, that if they wanted to justify firing him, they could for his mismanagement of the game yesterday. And I think if they did decide to fire Mike McDaniels, I think it would be less about him and more about the potential of getting Sean Payton.
Yeah.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get into your phones next. I see your phones lining up. We are right to them. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Hey, this is Phil Forsberg. And this is Smashville.
Forsberg a shot, broken up in front, give it back to Forsberg, and here come the Habs.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
This
This Week in Vanderbilt History, January 2016. 3 big wins for Commodore men's basketball to claw back to 500 in SEC play. First up on January 12th, a 75-57 victory over Auburn at Memorial Gym, behind a triple-double from Luke Cornett, only the second in program history. 11 points, 11 rebounds, and a Vandy record 10 blocks in only his third game back from a knee injury. Vandy completed the homestand sweep by beating Alabama 71-62 on Saturday the 16th, with Riley LaChance toughing out an illness to hit 5 threes and score a season-high 18 points, plus 16 at 11 from Jeff Roberson, and Damian Jones scored 13. And then on a snowy night in Knoxville, Kevin Stallings' team made it 3 in a row, hitting 13 times from behind the arc and defeating Tennessee 88-74. Wade Baldwin scored a career-high 25 in the victory over the Vols. 9 days, 3 wins, and renewed tournament hopes in January of 2016. This Week in Vanderbilt History, I'm Kevin Ingram.
Man, check it out. I need to tell you something, and it's about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, Momina started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne, along with that wonderful staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men, including me, of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. Listen, I'm turning 49 tomorrow, so I need a healthy and enriched life. And there's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle, man. So what are you waiting for? Get Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment like I did, and here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458, or visit their website at coolspringsmd.com.
Hey, it's Joe Rexler here for FanDuel Sportsbook. Folks, the final matchup of NFL Wildcard Weekend tonight. The easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers, join today, get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place first $5 bet. All you got to do is sign up promo code JOE102. FanDuel has all your favorites, moneyline, point spreads, player prop, but you can combine them for a bigger payout with the same game parlay. And if we're looking at this big one, Bucs Cowboys, look, I like the Cowboys. I think Dak will respond. Dak Prescott. In fact, I'm going to go over for him on the passing yards, and I'm going to go over overall with this game. I actually do think that it will be a little bit of up and down action for a nice final game of Wildcard Weekend. Don't miss out. Place your $5 bet. Get $150 in free bets. Win or lose with promo code JOE102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. First online winner wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is now withdrawable free bets. Expiring 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
It's electric in Smashville. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429 has a new path to a dignified career. Local 429 is accepting applications for the highest skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to ibew429.org. IBEW Local 429, your proud seventh man since the beginning. Go Preds.
And now a small business setback. Set to smooth jazz.
It's late. You're driving in the rain with only one thing on your mind. The deer about to total your HVAC van. But with Progressive's 30-plus customizable coverage options, you're covered. The rest is just saxophone.
When running your small business gets rough, Progressive Commercial is there to smooth it out. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Twinkly sound.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Petty Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5-1063, The Game and the Game Nashville app. Right to your phones as promised. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So we've been discussing the Ian Rappaport report that came out over the weekend that Tom Brady is interested in going to 3 teams: 49ers, the Raiders, and the Titans. We've got a lot of texters in our text line saying enough. Brady doesn't want to come to Tennessee. Brady's not coming to Tennessee. Enough of these rumors. I'm not talking about Tom Brady to the Titans just to talk about Tom Brady to the Titans. It was a report that was put out there. I mean, Tom Brady.
Don't shoot the
Tom Brady's
messenger.
people are the ones giving this to Ian Rappaport, saying that he'd be interested in coming to the Titans. So it's not something I'm cooking up. But
whoever his people are, they're happy we're talking about this. That's for
Exactly.
sure. They're not
Exactly.
texting into the text line and saying, "Stop talking about this."
And that's what
They're
I
like, "Hey, keep going, man. This is good.
That's
Get
what
my client out there."
I do want to know the intention of this report that came out. Why are Brady's people, which I'm assuming this is coming from Brady's people, his agent, or maybe Brady himself, why? Why leak that information and why now?
I mean, it's sort of unfortunate because, he's heading into wild card, super wild card weekend, as they call it. And this is an important game for them. Yes.
Wouldn't you be a little upset?
Yeah,
if you're the Bucs, like, hey, look, we're still in this thing.
Exactly.
Man.
Like, y'all
can you not wait till we're done?
Exactly. So I don't know, honestly, again, and this is just me. I don't think it's, I don't think it's Tom Brady saying, these are the places that I want to go. I think, because it's easier to assume, because he's a free agent now, he's not tied to any team, that, we can say, well, these are the teams that he has the potential of going to, whether it's Tennessee, Oakland, San Francisco, or, the dark horse, possibly Miami. So I don't think the way Tom Brady seems to be wired, I don't think he wants any distractions during the playoffs. No. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it was his camp that is putting it out here. I think it's just the assumption by possibly Ian Rappaport that he's a free agent. He may not go back to Tampa, and if he doesn't, these are the teams that he could be that he would be interested in. I don't think Tom, I would like to believe based on past history that Tom didn't say, okay, this is who I want to be. These are the few teams. Now go put that out while I'm now in playoff mode. If this happened during the season, then okay, I can see. But playoff mode, Tom Brady, I can't see him wanting these interferences, this distraction for his team, period.
But can Ian Rappaport go with assumptions?
Oh, yeah, he can.
He's an insider.
He can say.
He says something, and it's taken as.
But that can be, Willy being, somewhat a part of Tom's crew, but outside of the crew, they're saying, yeah, he's a free agent. There could be teams that he think about going to, like he did 2 years ago. It could be Tennessee. Right. It's not conceivable to think it didn't come from Tom Brady.
Guys, and let's keep in mind, there's very little detail.
Exactly.
This was an interview that he did. It's not a report he had with a lot of details or 2 or 3 sources, unnamed or named, whatever. It was kind of I'm riffing here. Like it sounded like he. I hope if he's going to go with that, he's got something,
right,
and not just.
I don't think you can just
like
say
Stephen
that.
A. Smith or somebody on a show like that can just say this is what I think.
When it's fodder, an opinion.
Right, he's a reporter, and he should be reporting. So I'm curious too, with this game being on NBC tonight. What do Mike Florio? What do some of the other guys? Do they say, well, yeah, I've been searching on this Tom Brady thing. Here's what we think. During the broadcast, do we hear the broadcast bring it up? Especially if the Bucs are losing. Do they start speculating, which most people think I would think that broadcast would, right? If they're down 2 touchdowns and there's 5 minutes to go, hey, what do you think is next for Tom Brady? That's going to come up. Remember the game in Foxborough where the Titans beat Brady? Throughout the night, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz were talking about this could be it for Tom Brady. This is it. What's going to happen? That was a couple years ago. So that is going to happen tonight. So will they echo what Ian Rappaport said? Will they go against it? Will they have some new information? These are all things to look for tonight, I think.
It's absolutely going to come up.
Yeah, I think it would, especially under the circumstances that you presented, Willie. If they're down 2 touchdowns, 5 minutes left, then it's okay, he's a free agent. Could the swan song,
yeah, and who's interested? What teams will be interested?
Yeah, what teams will be interested? And these are the teams that, we are hearing could possibly be interested.
Like if Mike Florio comes in and says in the post-game show,
I've talked to some sources.
I've talked to some teams. The Titans are in there. Then I think this really takes another step. But if Rappaport ends up on the island and he's the only guy, and there's nothing from Schefter, there's nothing from there's nothing from Florio, go down the list, then you kind of say, well, what does he really have there? What is there really anything to this?
I just think it's
I think it's unlikely. From where I sit, I just think it's unlikely to start with that all the Ducks could get in a row and that he comes here. But hey, the report's a report.
Yeah, I mean, just me looking at the circumstance. Tom is a free agent. 2 years ago, there were a few teams, and to me, it's just the same teams that we were talking about 2 years ago. You didn't bring me anything new that, Ian Rappaport didn't say, well, from the sources hey, these are the new teams. He basically regurgitated the old teams. Now, Tom could want to go to just those 3 teams or 4 teams, but it's nothing new.
And those teams still make sense.
Exactly. They still make sense. So it wouldn't be like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he could potentially go to the same 3 teams that we talked about 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Matthew in Nashville, Texas says, instead of bringing in Brady, why don't in 2023 give Ryan Tannehill a really good offensive line, a competent offensive coordinator, add another wide receiver to pair with a healthy Burks, and if he fails, then you move off of Ryan Tannehill. I think that is a fine solution. I think that it is totally feasible. You run it back with Tannehill, run it back with Henry, spend the offseason retooling and filling in the holes that you need to fill in that weren't addressed last year. You need an offensive line. You need another pass catcher because Robert Woods ain't in. You need an offensive coordinator that's going to be able to, work this system, whatever it might be. That is a totally fine solution, is running it back. But I'm just saying, if Brady is interested in coming here and you don't have to give anything up to get him, explore it. It's Tom freaking Brady.
Yeah, I mean, you have to kick the tires a little bit. I mean, you can't just, turn your back and say, nope, we don't want a part of it. But if you go out and you run it back with Ryan Tannehill, get the offensive line a little bit better than what it is, because it's still going to take them a minute to gel. That's just offensive lines too. And then you bring in a new coordinator. Everybody got to figure out the system. If it doesn't work, you know who's at fault now? Vrabel.
Yeah.
Vrabel's at fault now. Now his job is on the line. I'm going to go back to this season, this upcoming season, off season, is probably the most critical off season they've had in a long time. GM, OC, trying to find them new, need to get your franchise quarterback. If this thing doesn't work out next year, then there may be some rumblings about then Mike Vrabel, because you've done all the things that you were supposed to do. You changed the offensive coordinator, you got a better team, or you thought you had a better team, you added some pieces here and there, and if you still can't beat the Jaguars and can't win that division, then now we need to start pointing at the guy running the ship. Not that I want to get Vrabel fired. I think he's a good coach, but the buck has to stop somewhere.
Point.
It's at some point. Yeah, at some point you gotta. It has to be pointing at the head coach.
Yeah. So. Do you want to go see Nate Bargatze? And I'm sure you do, because he is freaking hilarious. So you will have an opportunity to go see him. Willy's got a trivia question for us, and the first right answer to that trivia question will win a pair of tickets to see local comedian Nate Bargatze as he goes from Old Hickory to Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, April 15th.
All right, here is your trivia question for the day. Nate Bargatze has Vanderbilt ties. He is a Commodore fan. Big win for Vanderbilt against 15th-ranked Arkansas on Saturday. It was an emotional game. It was a spirited game. In that game, Liam Robbins had a huge second half for the Commodores. He led them from 10 down to winning by 13. Here is the question. What number does Liam Robbins wear? And why am I asking that? It's the same number I wore back in the day for the Commodores. So, yeah, I'm going to slide that in there a little bit. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. You must call. You cannot text the answer. Caroline, you're going to see the text line. It's going to go. Somebody's going to.
Every time without
Every
fail.
time, but you can't win the prize that way. If you want to go see Nate Bargatze, call Nick Keiser. What number was the big fella wearing on Saturday? He's a pretty good player, by the way. I think he's going to play in the pros someday. I think he's an NBA guy. Liam Robbins playing really, really well.
All right. Again, be the first person to answer that trivia question correctly. You'll win a pair of tickets to see Nate Bargatze at Bridgestone Arena on Saturday, April 15th. Coming up next, we've been talking a lot about Tom Brady, and he is playing tonight. Our thoughts on Brady and the Cowboys coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guy.
They'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Preds fans, you coming out for tonight's big game? The pre-party action is at Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville, steps away from Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy great specials like $3 off any appetizer in the bar area and $20 bucket specials on Bud, Bud Light, Mick Ultra, and Landshark beer. A sports TV viewing mecca, the Landshark Bar and Grill is a Lower Broadway must-see. That's the Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on the corner of 4th Avenue and Broadway. Stop in before the Preds game tonight.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win, they lose. Just invested a lot into this game. I thought it was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6, Stillman and Company. Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Answer, Nick.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. And, of course, you can watch us streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. All right, we've got a Brady-Cowboys matchup, which I'm sure the NFL is just salivating. That they get this game, and the wild card round, Brady, Cowboys, I'm sure that they are just thrilled about it. Spread on that game is 3.
Yeah.
And Jerry Jones has already come out and said, he's like, Mike McCarthy's job is not in question regardless of what happens. He said Mike McCarthy's not getting fired. I don't know if Jerry Jones is going to come out and say that, if it's incorrect or if it's not true. But I can't imagine if the Cowboys get beat by this crummy, crappy Bucs team because of what Mike McCarthy did or some dumb decision that Mike McCarthy made in game. Like, if the Cowboys just go out there and cowboy it away tonight, I can't imagine how the Cowboys bring him back next year.
It's Dallas. We know it's going to be
it's
drama.
Dallas.
There's drama that goes with Dallas. No question about it. Real quick, let me tie up the loose ends. We do have a winner in the trivia.
Okay.
Kevin, congratulations. You're going to see Nate Bargatze. Thank you for knowing that it was number 21, Liam Robbins.
All right.
Now, who knows if Kevin had no idea about me. Or maybe he's like, yeah, I watched Willy play. I don't know who Liam Robbins is.
No,
but
Kevin
that
knows.
Donick, I remember Donick 21. Yeah.
Kevin knows for sure.
Yeah.
Kevin's a big Willy
Liam's
guy.
jersey is a little bit bigger than mine because he's 7 foot, but so the size probably doesn't quite fit. But he's a good player. Good win for the Dodgers. They got Alabama coming in tomorrow night. Big game.
Good team.
Brutal stretch of the schedule for Vanderbilt right now. Big test to see if Jerry Stackhouse's group can build on this win. That was a really good win for them, but they need more. This is a big year. They got some older players. Leland Robbins is one of them, and so we'll see if they can hang with the top dogs there.
Yeah, we'll see. This Dallas game, I don't think if they end up losing, which I don't think they will. But we've seen We've seen crazier things in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will be because of Mike McCarthy. I don't. I think it will be because of the play of the quarterback. If the quarterback plays well, then they win. If the quarterback doesn't turn the ball over, they win. If he doesn't, if he plays like he did the last game of the season or what we have seen from him since he's come back from that injury, if he's throwing interceptions and fumbling, Dallas is not going to beat Tampa, or it's going to be extremely hard to beat Tampa. But I don't think this game, and I think Jerry understands that.
Yeah.
I think he understands that, Mike McCarthy, is he the greatest coach in the world? No, but he's a good coach. And we win because of Dak. We win because Dak plays well. If Dak doesn't play well, we lose. So I believe him when he says, listen, no matter how this game goes, he's my head coach next season. Now, if he does something, i.e. McDaniel or Hackett or whoever coach that has botched games this season, if he does that consistently in the game tonight, then I don't know. You might have to reevaluate what you said.
But, how can you come out and say that so confidently and so definitively and then turn around on your word? But I think one theme that I took away from this entire wild card weekend that I'm sick and tired of seeing, and I don't want to see it tonight, I thought the officiating over the weekend was so horrendous.
It was atrocious.
Atrocious. The Kirk Cousins pass, roughing the passer last night, horrible call. The ball was still in his hand. It was a fair sack. It was a totally fair sack.
Yeah, I don't
know
what
what was
they
still
were.
in his hand when he came down.
I don't
roughing the
know
passer.
what they were calling on that. Oh, and shout-outs to TK, Terry Killens. He was one of us in the Vikings game. I looked up, I'm like, that's TK. Terry Killens played here.
Former Titan?
Former Titan. He was here for, I played with him for 3 years out of Penn. He's out of Penn State, and he and I became good friends.
It wasn't him. He didn't make the bad call. He didn't make the bad call.
But when I saw his face, I'm like, that's TK. So,
on that note, it just in the whole idea of how could referees be better, I do think if they could lure more former players who played at a high level like Terry Killens to be referees, I think you would probably help overall the way they see the game.
Because you get a feel for the game.
How many guys do you know you played with that, I want to go into officiating?
Yeah, not many.
They're much more likely to say, I'm going to go into coaching or broadcasting or, I'm going to coach my son's team or I'm just going to get into business. I want to get away from football. Very few say, I'm getting right back in there. I'm going to put the stripes on. That's not what – it's a thankless job, right? It's a different –
Nobody set out to be a rep when they joined the NFL as a player.
And it's not just the NFL. It's all sports, right? I know in hockey, they try to take players – they try to recruit players – who at the lower levels of professional or at high levels of college, they try to get them there. They try to grab them before they go into another walk of life. But they rarely get a former NHL player to become a referee. It just doesn't happen very often. I wish if they could. I don't know if it's the money or it's just they've been a player. They know what it's like. They've given it to the refs all their life. They don't want to take all that stuff from everybody else. It's an interesting dynamic, right? But I think sometimes officiating as a whole isn't as good as it could be because of that.
Yeah, but this weekend it just made you scratch your head a lot, and so much so that in regards to the false starts, there were a lot of false starts that were not called, and Tony Dungy put out a tweet that said basically you can't tell me that these refs are not seeing these false starts. Because it's evident that you're getting, and that's why Bosa was so upset. One, he felt he got hold, but
had
then
some
two,
words.
He was like, "That's false start. Like you got a beat on what I was doing." But it wasn't called.
And they're not going to call everything.
Yeah,
and there are
they're
going to be
not.
things that are missed. But I thought this weekend there were game-altering calls, either missed calls or penalties that I'm like, what the heck are you seeing? Like the roughing the passer on Kirk Cousins. It's a critical time, 2 minutes left in the game. Giants up by a touchdown, and you call that?
Yeah.
And then the missed block in the back on Mark Andrews on that Cincinnati touchdown. I mean, those are game-altering plays, and all the games
Imagine
this
how
weekend.
altering. I mean, they even put the odds on the TV, how altering that one play was. So think about
he
the
pushed
impact
the
of that.
guy in the back and then did his hands like this. I'm like, ref, you're running
the look of guilt. The look of guilt. Yeah.
Like y'all running right with him. You don't see that. So it's just like, man, listen. It's hard being a ref, man.
It's hard.
Maybe that's why former players
I'm
don't
telling
want to
you,
do
that's it. That's exactly it.
But official predictions tonight, I think the Bucs are going to win. I think Tom Brady and the Bucs pull it out. I don't think they get past San Francisco in the divisional round, but I do think Tom Brady gets done. Tom Brady does Tom Brady things in the playoffs.
I'm going Cowboys. I'm going the other way.
I want to see that rematch, the old rematch of 49ers and Cowboys. I want to see that rematch.
Man, that was a heck of a game last year.
Exactly. So I'm pulling for the Cowboys.
All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Predators in action against the Flames. Puck drop at 7. Stillman & Company is up next. We'll be back tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Peace.